Hi, what's going on? It's me, Slippery Jim Mate. Welcome to episode 4 of Extended Discussion. Joined this time by Octavian and the usual two negligible, how do you say words? Jousis and Lighty and me, and let's get started. Dude, I can minimize Discord and it stays active? Wow, that's an upgrade. I'm just blowing my own mind.
The future is now.
Yeah, last time I tried that, all the images froze.
You have to pop it out.
I didn't have to this time. It's going to stop working randomly halfway through, but I'll be fine.
That's entering recline mode.
Hell yeah. Do you know how long these things go for, Octavian? You might have signed up for something you're not too keen on.
Like
3 hours.
3 hours? That's what you've got? Okay, yeah, we can do that. We can cut it short.
No, that's cutting it short. Okay.
5.5 or something? The last, I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, we started with 3, and then it went 4, and then it went 5.5.
I did edit that one from 7 hours. That's usually the progression. Yeah. The original plan was to do a 1 hour podcast, and then episode 2 I double it, and then episode 3 I double that, and then we get like 7 episodes in, and then we want to die.
You have heard the parable of the dude asking for like doubled grain of rice on each square of the chessboard, right?
Yeah, that's like the whole point.
But the end of that parable is that there isn't enough rice in the world.
Yeah.
2 to the 64.
It's a job that, like, creates itself, and then you have a retirement plan built
in. How much is 2 to the 64? Yeah, that's a very big number. 1.8 times 10 to the 19th.
I mean, if we all could just double our money 25 times, no one would ever need money again, and inflation would be rampant.
This is the multi-level marketing scam, where it's like, hey, you'll make money off this if you get 5 of your other friends in on the scheme. Yep. And you can only do that 13 times before you run out of people on the Earth.
Nothing wrong with that. What's it like? If you go back 12 generations in your family, there already has been more ancestors than there have ever been people on the planet, or something like that.
What?
Something like that. It's like 200, 800 years in the past. Because it's just a whole bunch of incest and shit, basically. Moral of the story, we're all related into degrees that we'd probably be uncomfortable with if we knew. Especially anyone related to Lighty.
Wow.
Damn.
Gotta bring up the incest, huh?
Yeah, Lighty's family.
My dark secrets.
Full of incest. So, I'm gonna start this, or I could just use the last 20 minutes, and it's fine, actually. It's only been 3, so be fine. Hey! It's a podcast. The only reason I made it is because no one invited me to any. I'm just kidding. It's more of like just a chill discussion, like with like no context, and I don't give anyone any sort of like notes about what we're going to be talking about, and it's just like awkward discussions and me derailing everything, and then Lighty being like, "Hey, have you seen this thing called Scourge? It's the reason we're supposed to be here."
Yeah.
So with that started, hey Lighty, what's your first talking point?
First talking point.
Yeah.
I could just.
What's your document say?
Well, I actually do have documents. I'm not going to bring those up. But overall, if we're saying Scourge first impressions, I would say there is realistically 0 things in all of the Scourge patch notes, balance, manifestos, 1 through 3 reveals. None of it really upsets me or offends me, which hasn't happened in, I would say, a very long time. Granted, the context of how close we are to the game, something will always irk us in some way, but the only nerf that I saw that really affected me from a solo self-found perspective, since the aura stacking really didn't too much and the curse stacking didn't really too much, was just Forbidden Right totems, which I thought was very rare that they do a tactful and targeted nerf that doesn't totally annihilate that whole archetype, because that often is the case. Examples including Elemental Proliferation in the past, they nerfed that, and instead of targeting Flame Blast, that just every Prolif build died. So it's just nice to see that they nerfed something specific, being Forbidden Right totems, and that build will probably not exist, but all of their totem builds are basically fine, which is just refreshing. So
have they like
overall
nerfed something previously? Like, isn't totems a major archetype? Like, wouldn't that be like a single bow skill, like a Voltaxic Rift build being overly broken, and to fix it, they destroy every single bow skill in existence?
You could argue that when they nerfed Val Spark and Val Fireball, every other Val skill got essentially hit.
The equal comparison would be to destroy Val Spark, they destroy every spell in existence. Because isn't like totems such a major archetype? Like, I'm not surprised they didn't kill every single totem.
Totems occupies is pretty small.
I think you can even break it down into like attack totems versus spell totems. Sure. So you could say it's a relatively small niche of spell casting totems.
Yeah. And to that point, it's like pretty minimal. I would say the span in which this effect of the totem builds is borderline negligible. You could almost argue that the change to totem builds not being able to use a quiver in your offhand is more impactful than the damage versus damage, like life reduction versus damage thing that totems have gained. So in the past, this would be like pretty big.
They didn't destroy like other spell totem builds, but they also didn't destroy Torchok step builds, which I really appreciated. I already got a bunch of comments on my Torchok step totem video. Like, there was a huge buff, and I'm like, well, they reduced the totem life by 60%. It ends up being roughly equal.
Did they do anything with the decoy totem alt quality? If we're burrowing into the littlest minutia and rat holes here.
Not that I saw, but I also did an alt F for decoy totem. So
yeah,
I
think maybe one person will be sad about that.
Yeah,
decoy. I can't find anything. Show all spoilers.
That sounds pretty successful to me, though. If one person's upset, I think they've done patch notes overall correct. Aside from the only thing that you go first, Scar.
I really like that they switched to the format problem solution specifics that they do the breakdown of, instead of just listing everything one by one and with no justification. Like Chris said, that was a huge improvement, and I really look forward to seeing more.
It's interesting like that they format it like that, because it's for me it's a little of a double-edged sword. I like that to see their thought process for how they're going about it. Like, this is their view on what the problem is, and then this is their view on what the solution is to that problem. At times it comes off as
pedantic.
I don't want to say it's kind of like not say condescending or something, but like bold of you to assume the problems I'm having when it comes to this specific thing, because oftentimes the problems they describe I've never considered a problem for me. Not even because of like maybe a skill gap or time investment, just because I feel like there's ways around a lot of these things they list as problems.
Well, not everything in the patch notes has to be about you and your like shortcomings.
Sure, but I mean, I'd be remiss to say that's not the lens in which I view life, is not my own, So it's like
I imagine pretty much everybody here didn't have any problem with the complexity of Burning Arrow, for instance.
Yeah.
But GGG had enough players who were confused enough by how Burning Arrow works early on, since it's one of the first gems given, that they decided it was worth changing.
For sure. I think overall it's like you're just saying, it's a very good like way of just breaking it down. So it's someone who's more, I dare I say, elite in Path of Exile, but like even like layman's can understand the process behind why they're going about this answer question type situation. Seems like pretty on the money.
Some of them seemed a little like, I don't know.
I mean, like the Burning Arrow one's a bit. That's like the ones where it's like, okay, sure, man.
Well, like
you do that, and then you like read Penance Brand out loud, and then you tell me if spells make sense.
I don't even mean that. I mean, like, there was just something that's like, we needed monster. I was like golems. Golems felt a bit squishy, and then like, what we're gonna do about it? Give them more life. I'm like, yeah, maybe you could have just had that in one sentence instead of three, But no, it's fine. I'm sure you can't have everything. It's it's a giant block of text. You're going to have it in one format or the other. There's no going through and paying someone, 10 hours worth of work to format it to make it look pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have redundant explanations than no explanations. If those are the two options we have.
Yeah, I don't feel like they're stat padding words. Like it's not like it's a college essay you're handing. And you're like, I gotta get to fucking 5,000 word count. I think they're just like over explaining, which like Octavian's saying is. I'd rather that than over explaining.
If our complaint about the league is that the patch notes were formatted incorrectly, like, that's a victory. This is an awesome league. Although the one thing I did want to bring up was people complaining about sacred orbs, or like the fact that all it is items like they all get buffed, right? More or less, the defenses. It's not a negative, right? Like it's,
baselines aren't changing.
0 is the baseline.
I had a huge rant about this prepared, but it's a positive rant.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction to seeing it was, you're just adding another quality, another currency. It's more tedium, right? But that was because I thought that the original approach was intended to just increase heterogeneity in drops, which from that perspective, I was thinking currently there's no difference between 2 glorious plates, and it's not really that impactful to make 2 glorious plates very slightly different from each other. I was thinking in terms of a glorious plate and a majestic plate. The only difference between the two is that glorious plate has more armor, and so for effectively only one base exists, and it's the strongest base for each type. So adding randomized base defense values doesn't fix that problem. But when they started talking about how, the Sacred Orb is supposed to be really, really rare, I was like, that wasn't the intention. The intention was not to increase heterogeneity so much. It was more, so when you're going through a map and you get a billion base items on the ground, there's basically a 0% chance that any of them are going to be valuable to pick up, right? So with this change, if it goes up to 15%, so 1 in 15 of them is going to be maximum base value. And so essentially that means when you're going through the map and you get what used to be a whole bunch of completely useless loot, now there's a 1 in 15 chance that one of them is valuable. So effectively the change boils down to, when you're going through maps, you are now more likely to find a valuable drop.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely valid. I think overall, any sort of malice towards the change is perplexing, but at the very worst, it's just really shouldn't affect you too much if you're just playing the game. I can't even imagine it's really just the impact is quite minor outside of a trade setting. But the one thing I find very, very funny is just Path of Exile has been out for 8.5 years, give or take, right, from its original conception, and I haven't really heard. I've been playing the entire time. Some of you probably have also. Haven't really heard any mention of this being introduced into the game at all. And then 2 weeks after D2R comes out, they add variable defense, which is a mechanic in D2R. That seems is someone just been playing D2R and been we should add this? That seems a bit coincidental to me.
Have you seen Battle Royale games? Someone discovers a new amazing game mechanic, and everyone's like, "That's just free real estate. That's mine now."
I mean, yeah, but it's also existed in EverQuest since 20 years ago. So it's just funny timing, kind of in the wake of.
Yeah, it is funny timing. I don't think they forgot about that for however long it's existed in Diablo.
I think it definitely was we should probably release this now because this just happened, but. Yeah, I mean, the impact, again, is quite minor of a Sacred Orb overall. It might add some value for your Trade League player if you find something that's this is now, I got a perfect Astral. This has some value past just base item. So that's cool. Past that, it's just a level of min-maxing, I would assume.
I just meant there's been nothing going on about people complaining or anything, and we get something that is literally only a buff. Even if they were common as fuck. Hey, we know you like buffs. Here is something that takes every base item, every base armor in the game, and only buffs it in an RNG way. There's no nerfs here, and then Reddit's in flames. What happened? It's only a buff.
I have some insight into the psychology here.
Go ahead.
So first of all, there was the element of the original post erroneously said that the value couldn't be modified, and then they introduced the Sacred Orb, which directly contradicted that a day or two later. So some people were like, this means that specific implications into the crafting market where bases are incredibly valuable. And then it's you can just re-roll everything, and that changed. So that's one aspect of it. I think there is a little tiny bit of reasonable objection with that argument. But a lot of what happened, I think, is... You can know that logically something is 100% a buff and there's no downside for you whatsoever, but I think just people don't like stuff being gated by RNG even if it's completely a buff. So, you can have an emotional reaction that is negative to something that is 100% a positive to you just because you don't like how it feels.
It's an emotional argument rather than a rational one, and I don't say that to necessarily put it down, because you're playing a video game for fun. You're trying to get an emotional connection out of it in some way. So when you drop that, I don't know, Calm's Heart or Shavs, or more to the point, when you drop like the boss uniques. What's a boss armor that people use?
Brass Dome.
Brass Dome, sure.
Well, it's base game now, still.
When you drop the Brass Dome after you've been farming for it for a while or whatever else, and it drops with like 2% quality, it's still a Brass Dome. If you were planning around building around it, it still enables your builds. You can still use it, but it like feels bad, and the existence of the system causes it to feel bad. If the system wasn't there, you wouldn't feel anything because you wouldn't know what you were missing out on.
I agree
Personally, I don't really think it's a huge deal either way, but I just to play devil's advocate, I think that's where the sentiment is coming from.
For sure. It's like another opportunity to be slightly disappointed, which is just...
I'm going to be a little bit sad when I get a really rolled Crown of Thorns.
I feel like the same people who feel like that are going to feel like that no matter what. I almost feel like, just to peel back the onion one more layer, it's like, it's just because it's 2 weeks before League launch, it's like, oh, it's time to complain again. That's kind of how I feel like a lot of people are when it comes to almost... you could probably dig deep on most every GG post, especially because they're doing like spoiler like reveals type now, especially for new mechanics. And I'm sure there's some subsection of players who are complaining this subsection maybe just caught traction when others didn't.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of merit to that as well. Like, you're coming off of 3.15, which was one of the most controversial and unloved releases that GGG has had in, 5+ years. And like, if you think about the context of when people were talking about the Sacred Orbs, we didn't know anything about guilds, we didn't know anything about the Scourge League mechanic, we didn't know anything about stacked currency, all this stuff that people really want and have been asking for a while, that probably would have gotten an incredibly positive reaction. Like, if they had just changed the order and they had revealed, hey, we're making smaller currency stack first, and then in the bigger announcement they revealed Sacred Orbs as like this little afterthought, I doubt anyone would even frickin' talk about them. Yeah. Maybe not that. Okay, that's a little extreme. I doubt people would care nearly as much.
Oh yeah, if Sacred Orb was revealed in the patch notes with like everything else, it would be a blip. But that was the only news we had to go on for that day.
Yeah, it's like, here's something incredibly trivial in GGG's eyes. It's like, who cares? It's a teaser, and then it just blows up in their face. It's like, well, we gain everything for telling them what it is and how it works, and then they do that breakdown post, and they stop complaining, whereas they could have just left it in the patch notes. They could have just left everything on fire for 2 weeks and then had it as a single line in the patch notes. It's just something so trivial that gets people upset, and then it's on fire for a week, and then we get like it's great that I don't finish sentences. It's great that GGG have the communication skills. Most companies would rather see the world on fire than explain their actions, because then they're liable to their own words, if that makes sense. So, like, I like it either way. If there's a clusterfuck that happens because of a misunderstanding in text, and then it takes a week for them to just put out a little document saying, you're all idiots, here's why, also the currency's rare as fuck and it's not going to break your wrists, then it's fine, I don't know. I like seeing the world both on fire and fixed, because it's like I experienced something when in fact I didn't. I've just been sitting here looking at Reddit.
He just wants to feel,
Yeah, it's any type of feeling's a good feeling. I let the matches burn down just so I can feel pain. No, yeah, exactly.
Poor Timothy.
If I can't play the game, I play the Reddits.
Seems good, man.
I think you hit on a fundamental reason for this right there. A lot of people were playing Reddit, and that was the content of Reddit for the day.
It honestly blows my mind how many people, just from like when I'm streaming, how many people are in chat. I always ask, like, who's playing Path now, and it's like maybe 5 to 10% of the players watching. Like, people, I don't call them players, people watching them, and players if not playing. But like, most times they'll play for 2 weeks, and then it's like that's their time in the league, and then after that, it's just like I'd rather just vicariously watch it. And of course, that's a thing for example, maybe to my specific audience, but I think it also kind of mirrors to Reddit to a degree, where it's like a large chunk of the player base, I feel like, has their first couple weeks or month to play, and then after that, it's kind of like, well, I got to experience Path somehow. I might as well experience it on a forum, like, effectively.
I mean, not everyone has all this free time in the world to do what they want as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've got a full-time job, and I'm going to watch vicariously through someone else because I can't put the effort in to get to that point of content myself, especially this league with all those endgame changes. Hey, segue.
Yep.
I mean,
sure. I just want to segue to something.
I mean, if you want, that's
I had a point, but no one cares about it.
Go for it. What's your point?
No,
I want to know. We've got all the time in the world. Tell me.
Okay, so I have to hand it to GGG for how they're handling PR on the Reddit in one specific aspect. There's a sentiment that I've seen in the comment sections on some posts like, oh, GGG isn't going to respond to this, they don't care. What I have to say is... from a PR perspective, they know when to post something and when to respond. So they can, they post all these teasers. Most of them are pretty good. And then this one doesn't land. People don't like it. And so there's not a single staff comment in that comment section, right? Because at some point they understand from a PR perspective, responding in a toxic comment section just makes everything worse. So the only time that they ever respond to stuff is when Chris Wilson posts like a big post by himself. And historically, I'm pretty sure those have always landed really well. Like, completely explains everything and everyone is satisfied. So they usually never fuel the fire, and they're pretty good at putting them out in certain circumstances where that's possible.
To piggyback on that, they also tend to go quite in depth a week before launch regarding mechanical questions. Case in point, the Energy Blade, they released this, they will be releasing soon. A lot of mechanical questions regarding that, and I saw, I don't know which mod it was or which dev, whatever. They were pretty much going back and forth with a variety of people for like an extended period of time, going through the minutia of how it should work because there's some convolution with the skill wording. So
yeah, that's really appreciated as well.
Going hard on the whatever.
And I'm on a slightly tangential note, I'm very impressed with how unique, I guess is the word I'm reaching for, how unique the skills that they're releasing in this league are. Like, none of them, except maybe Poisonous Concoction to some degree, feel like rehashes of previous concepts. Like, the Link thing is obviously this whole new archetype of skills. And then Energy Blade does weird nonsense that, as you said, took a dev like 5 responses to properly explain. The Tornado is like, you could have just gone the route of spamming tornadoes like Spark. But no, they decided to make Tornado like a orb utility skill that you shoot things into and it deals damage to enemies. Like, it's such a
I love it.
Weird concept, but it's very cool.
It even extends to heavily to the uniques they introduced that are like, I'm a big proponent unique collecting is the thing I do, and I often have to talk about it. So the one thing I'm always harp on is, to me, I don't care if unique is useful when it's released or even in the next 2 years, as long as its function is unique. It has to do something that nothing else does, at least for that like point in time. So all the uniques they've pretty much introduced are extremely unique, albeit I think most of them, bar like a certain belt, aren't really too good, but I think that the ones that are at least released that are like, they do what they do, nothing else can do that. That's like fantastic design from my perspective.
Aces, Prison.
You saw the shield or whatever, right?
The one that just came out? Or which one? I think I saw that one yet.
It's very good. It's very, very good.
Let's see. Allows you to wield a one-handed weapon and a shield as if they were a 6-link. People have been asking for that for years. It's great. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that. I mean, I understand the use of the adding the tag exceptional gems for the 3 big boys, but the second I see non-exceptional gems makes me a little bit sad.
Yeah, but you just put your exceptional ones in your primary.
Yeah,
it makes me feel bad for the other gems.
Yeah.
You are neither awakened, alternate, or exceptional. You are normal.
That's okay, though.
So it's just effectively a second 6-link. Unless I'm misunderstanding.
It's really powerful with certain uniques that couldn't get those links, like Arakali's Fang or Poet's Pen.
Yeah,
it's kind of gross. With
even
Poet's
more
Pen.
so with
that
the
one,
new
that ultimatum unique.
Yeah, the
Relic of the Pact.
That's what it's called.
I'm going to be Googling.
I'm going to be insane with that.
Actually, one-shot you now.
I wonder if it supports. So it says supports skills from your main hand. I wonder if it only supports gems that are socketed in the main hand, or if the main hand grants a skill.
Bitter Blossom 10-link.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. I don't know. I think this is an excellent design for a unique, and one of the more powerful ones they've teased. Like this, it's not up there with the belt because it's not as like universally good, but for the niche builds that it fits into, it is like enabling. It's crazy
I
strong.
don't think it works the way we're saying it works. Not that I don't trust it, but there has been cases where things don't work the way we want them to work. And this enabling a 6 thing for your main hand for things like Arakali's Fang specifically, especially in lieu of
Bitter Dream, Viable.
that new glove, it seems
Arakali's Fang
too strong.
I could see how it wouldn't work with Arakali's Fang because it's not the skill for Arakali's Fang
Doesn't
isn't
exist
socketed
outside
in your
of
main
that,
hand. Yeah. But I mean, even if it just works with like Poet's Pen, that's an incredibly powerful use case in my opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's where I'm kind of reeling back because it almost seems at first glance too powerful, and I tend to not trust things that are too strong. They don't tend to survive very long. But we've had Hateforge, so who knows?
I would imagine it's not particularly common. If it is, it's going to like define the meta to some degree.
Say
I think.
they're going to
I'm
make
very nervous about
6 uniques?
how common Stasis Prison is. 'Cause
No.
I can't imagine it's that rare.
that unique is so good. I have
No.
already theory crafted builds that use that as the only required unique.
I
It's a very
believe it-
unique.
I
So I
believe
feel like it'll be like
comes,
doppelgangers, guys, rare.
Like, not crazy rare. It's only 1 in 50 off Maven, right? Or 1 in 100?
Yeah, but still, that's an endgame boss drop and the rarest one of the endgame boss drops.
Sure.
Question.
My
It
rare
looks
and your
like
rare
it's
are
intended
different,
to
you
be
know?
used with a specific skill, so that suggests that it should be more common.
I'm
They
more
said-
curious how rare Mage Blood's going to be.
They said they were making 6 uniques, right? And they've
Yep.
shown off 6, right? They said 3 from base game, and was it 3 from League, or was it 3 from endgame content?
3 from Scourge and 3 from base game, I believe.
So,
Or, sorry, three
Stasis Prison looks like a
non-Scourge and 3
Scourge item.
Scourge. Yeah.
so we know
Mostly
that
because
the
it only
amulet-
shows up when you press the Scourge button.
the amulet's from Blight, the other amulet from Breach.
Breach,
There's 4 uniques they've shown us aside from those 2. So which one of the 4 that they've shown us is from an endgame content instead of the League mechanic?
Well,
Does
we
that
know
make
it's
sense?
not Mage Blood, because Mage Blood, they already said it was going as a core item.
Yeah. Squire looks like a core item as well.
So it's
Yeah, and
the
then the gloves, and then...
and the body
What
armor.
else is there? The
Yeah,
body armor's
so
probably
Stasis
Scourge
Prison.
then.
It's probably Scourge, yeah. I really hope it's available from now and forwards because it is the holy grail of cast and damage taken.
You just got to run maps
Yeah.
that say they guarantee a Scourge boss, and also say they Scourge monsters deal 120% more damage.
It sucks that
That's
you can't
fun.
trigger the temporal thing, though. The whatever
Yeah,
it's
it
called.
doesn't matter because the 100% life recoup is insane. It means that you can basically run any cast and damage taken setup and not have to worry about the extremely specific way that you don't kill yourself.
When I did see it, I did think of you, to be fair.
What are we talking
Uh-huh.
about? I'm confused.
Stasis has the
Stasis
damage.
Prison. Yeah, 100% of the damage that you take is recouped over 4 seconds back as life. So you could theoretically, as long as you don't actually take enough to kill yourself, you could take an infinite amount of damage and it would heal all of it back without any other investment.
Well, that's
Granted, it takes 4 seconds, but it's
Val-
not
Yeah, it takes 4
Realms.
seconds. So what I have theory crafted so far is this is the holy grail of cast and damage taken is you're triggering a level 20 cast and damage taken exactly on cooldown, right? Like without any specific circumstances as to the environment or mobs near you or what you're casting at the time, like temporary buffs. So if you could just in isolation trigger level 20 cast and damage taken every 0.264 seconds on cooldown, that's the holy grail of cast and damage taken. And that's possible with this item because you can get Forbidden Right to do exactly enough damage to you to trigger cast and damage taken, and the cast speed to exactly 0.264 seconds, and then just use Stasis Prison to heal all of that damage back 100%. And you could even, they said they're adding some damage recoup to the passive tree, so you could even get above 100%, so it would heal you. And Forbidden Right does chaos damage to you, so you wouldn't be destroying your energy shield like every single other self-damage mechanic does.
Yeah,
So it's
the future
it's
is
so
now.
good. for what I'm trying to do. It's perfect.
You wouldn't happen to know whether recoup counts as life recovery? I'd imagine it does.
It
right?
does for the purposes of life recovery rate.
Okay, then.
So I get life recovery rate too.
What's that amulet that gives you elemental damaged, healed, or recouped?
Gluttony, the Blood of Corruption?
Yeah.
Or which one?
Do you need Val skills to use that?
Yeah, it's a Val skill.
It is a skill, yeah. But there's also Graven's Belt. The blue Maven Belt gives you absorption charges, which recoups
that
elemental
one I was
damage.
very disappointed in because it specifically said elemental damage recovers your energy shield and it replaces power charges. So every single self-damage mechanic cannot make use of that belt.
Yeah. I'm sorry, the world is not
either
built
over
around you and your
50%.
machinations.
Yeah, you need either over 50% physical taken as elemental, or you need to be able to get power charges, which you can't with that belt.
I'm just doing a lot of reading.
Well, I'll bring something up then. The thing that is in the entirety of the Scourge patch notes reveal that gave me the biggest reaction, without question, especially not just for the context of me collecting uniques, but also just for the potential usage in League now, was the removal and change of Forbidden Shako, which for me is beyond massive. And just to clarify for anyone watching, Replica Forbidden Shako was locked behind replicas in Heist. Regular Forbidden Shakos from Oshabi. They've effectively removed Replica from the game and made the regular one from Oshabi the exact same one as Replica. So it's going to have the 5 to 10 and then 25 to 35 support gem, I believe, which is like bananas for the potential of different builds, not just like the obvious ones being things like Ice Bite for scaling, but also there's a ton of meme things you could do, like Decay or Infernal Legion. A lot of these things, once you get them to level 35, start to get a bit ridiculous. Like Infernal Legion does almost 6,000 flat dot damage at level 35. The potential of that.
Is the big one.
Ice Bite's huge, yeah. And then there's Decay, even Spell Totem, which was previously used in Forbidden Right, you could do it. So that's like, that being in the game, I think, is and potentially more accessible, especially given the shift to the Atlas, is like so sexy because there's so many cool things you could do.
I hope that Oshabi, like we get compensation in Oshabi being a little more common. I doubt we will, but I hope. Yeah. I can cling to hope every single league. I can keep chugging my hopium.
It's like a bit atrocious for spawn rate.
Oh, it's so awful.
And especially the Replica Forbidden Shako was the probably least common Replica unique, other than, I guess, Replica Bated Breath. A single non-divined one was like 40x last time I checked.
There's the third. The third Shrouded Lightless is more rare.
That makes sense.
They're really close. I mean, it goes Bated Breath, Shroud, Shako. I think it's Headhunter, and then Cortex. Yeah, double check, but yeah, I'm pretty sure those are the rates. But yeah, it's fucked. It's rare. It was super rare. Like you could have. I mean, I've run over 1,000 replicas, and I've never seen one. So it's quite rare. But now, hopefully, it's more common.
Yeah, putting it on Oshabi. I mean, at least in Harvest League, I got to fight Oshabi, so I did actually get a Forbidden Shako as a drop. So this is a drop that is potentially accessible to someone who does not play like 12 hours a day.
Granted, I'm curious now because previously her drop rates were pretty much all even keel as far as what she dropped. It was 4 different items: Staff, the Claw, the Gloves, and then Shako. And not to say the other ones aren't good, but they're kind of dog shit in comparison, even more so now. So I hope that they didn't just like sneakily after change make the drop rate of Shako like 1%, because of that.
I think considering they said the Sacred Blossom boss fight doesn't have a sufficiently valuable unique reward, and so this is intended to be the reward. Although it did say that it was intended to be the valuable reward originally, so maybe they didn't change it, but I think it's possible that they're going to make it rarer.
Yeah, so that means it's now like a 1% chance and a 1% chance to get it, I guess. Like, layered. Just that one find your 4 boss, get Blossom, get Shako.
It's a cool hat, though.
It's a cool hat.
It's a good quote for the podcast from Octavian. It's a cool hat.
It's a cool hat.
After all that discussion, it's a cool hat.
Rage support's pretty good, too. Lots of
there's a lot of things you can go through. I mean, even just, like, the added damage from just added gems, The list kind of just goes on. Very rarely is it better than just, the alternative of having, like, a dope 6 link that has like double corruption and all that stuff. But the things that it can do well, it does very well.
Level 35 chance to flee.
I hit that with blind,
dude.
When I was divining it once, and I kept it.
No one will
because
ever
it was so bad.
humanoids. Will ever stop you.
I'd use that. You don't know
Jim
how
would
good
use it.
blind and flee. Holy shit! You don't know how good that is for like low
Almost
key
bring your
meme
brain.
stuff. Dude, I'm gonna make a blind build specifically for fishing. It's fucking amazing. Do you still have that?
What?
He wants it in standard.
The flea blind Shako. That's so.
Maybe I can check. I do not remember.
Actually, Shakos in standard have times 30 in price after 5 minutes after that came out. Everyone was trying to buy them up and divide, hoard them because they're going to be so valuable.
Oshabi fight was sealable, right?
Now it is.
Yeah, it's a fragment.
It's just the Blossom thing.
Was it last league? Like you could buy it? You could buy the fight?
I think last league. Yeah.
I checked Pro Ninja. I couldn't find how much they were.
The price is artificial because the challenge is the problem. That's
right.
Like just because of the challenge, the price goes like to 10, 15 exalted, which is unfortunate, because again, it's kind of like previously had shit tier loot and the bosses.
Oh man,
fairly easy.
There's going to be challenges for all the new endgame content, isn't there?
Tends to be. So it gets better. I mean, yeah.
And they're going to be conditional.
Do you think
better than the past, though?
Do you think they're going to make challenges for like Wave 30 Simulacra?
I think they'll do like, here's all the new endgame things, complete 2, and
Okay, yeah, they might do that.
That would be more reasonable
like 10, but yeah.
Wow.
If everyone had to do the very last wave of Simulacrum, which is intended to be like, they're not even sure if people can do it.
Every time they say that, it's always done day 3, though.
Yeah, someone always does
any
it,
content in the game. It's like...
I will PayPal you $5 if fucking Wave 30 Simulacrum is done on day 3 of next league. Not in standard, like in league.
Well, if we take off the last caveat, then yes.
Yeah, no.
3 days in standard will be day 1. In league, I imagine it's the end of week 1, I bet you.
Standard, you can have legacy Vinctars.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'll sign up for a free $5.
PayPal goes pretty far in Trade League. Grabbing your mom's credit card goes pretty far in Trade League. Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing what conditional challenges there are, especially for the Uber content. But I honestly, there used to be a time, to sound like an old man in Path of Exile, where the challenges were atrocious, like to the point where one of them was ID 100 uniques, and the whole market collapsed. So there was.
I remember that one.
That was so stupid. Like the price of things like Allure went to like 15 exalted. So.
End the league with an Adziri's Disfavor in your stash.
Yeah.
What?
It was challenges were fucked before. So.
Adziri's Disfavor was like 4 mirrors that league or something.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't start playing till Warbands, and I didn't pay attention to challenges until like Harbinger.
It was okay. So yeah, it was between then. I think it was Legacy or the league, maybe in League before it or something. But it was like there was some strange conditionals. Like it was like specifically ID all these uniques, and then it was like end the league with this or get like 5 characters to level 80 like on the same day. It was just weird shit they started adding, which I like the experimental phases, of GGG's random tamperings. But it was funny.
Dark Shrines. I missed the RNG League.
Oh, Dark Shrine. Yeah. Every league's an RNG league. It's Path of Exile.
Yeah, but I want Synthesis. If it didn't get data mined, would have been so fucking good. I mean, so fucking shit, but so fucking.
That's the advent of
playable.
Just games in general. Once things are solved, they're solved. It's like that's why WoW Classic was solved in a week versus 5 years, like previously. I mean,
I just like the gameplay loop of throw loot in Grinder instead of throw loot in Vendor and get currency and then grind.
Yeah,
I mean, Scourge is kind of doing that. You throw loot into the giant rusty hole in your...
Rusty Hole
Wrangler is excellent.
It makes no sense, like RuneScape, like carrying 28 sharks in your backpack. Oh yeah, take this tiny thing and put it in you. Okay, cool. Now take this giant Disfavor and cram that into your chest, and now kill a bunch of shit to corrupt it. I mean, yeah, it's cool as a game mechanic, but it's not real. Where's more realism?
I loved putting that in the trailer. They're like, here's this sketchy NPC appears in front of you, holds out this machine, and says, "Implant this into your skin," and you're like, okay.
I mean, if we start thinking about the logistics of Path, it's a slippery slope.
I like to imagine that in universe, the NPC didn't even get like halfway through their explanation before our character just grabbed it and chunked it into our chest.
Ooh, a new
And I was
thing.
like, hi, I'm from another universe. Oh, okay. You're very.
We just got off of a slave ship. The character was about to be hung. We hopped off the slave boat. Now we're on we just killed a man named Hillock. And then we walk 2 feet. We see crabs, and then this guy's like, "Put this inside of you," and you're like, "Okay."
There's a parallel universe where an exile grabs it, runs back to town, and starts trying to trade it in different combinations to vendors to try and unlock secret recipes. Like, what if I try and sell it with some?
Yeah,
with some
you
fusing?
do actually. You get it as an item, don't you?
Yeah, you can do something
I thought
with
it was a
it.
quest item.
You could
Drop it
definitely
back
not
in the
use
ground.
it if you wanted. That's what he said. If you want to just ignore it,
Tradable.
which is
Keep it in
Strange.
your inventory the entire league.
Did you know that in Expedition League, I think it's the 3rd expedition that you encounter, Gwennon will shout at you to use an explosive on a remnant, and if you never do that, she shouts at you to do it every single time you place an explosive that's not on a remnant. It's great. I hope there's another thing like that.
Unfortunately, I liked the league where if you didn't talk to a Shabi ever, then it would show in your quest log when you were in a map that had a harvest in it.
happens with Metamorph.
So you could
also,
enter
don't
a map
click
and it
him.
would show on the quest on the side whether or not there was a harvest in the map.
For Simulacrum during Delirium, if you could trigger at the same time through 3 different conditional methods the strange voice, and they'll just all overlap. So you just hear 3 different dialogues playing at it's just like, which kind of is very thematic. It causes just a cacophony of madness in your headphones, just hearing the same dialogues tripled. But
It's like being in voice chat
just
during League.
little fun triggerables, spicy flavor.
Something.
They actually, speaking of Delirium, they just removed a pretty key part of Delirium from the Echoes. I mean, the Echoes change was, I would say, almost largely intended just to simplify the progression to Cirrus and to the endgame for newer players, making it from 8 Watchstones to 4 Watchstones. But through that, we did lose some things and didn't. I mean, it was a double-edged sword. The fact that we lost effectively 40 points and then more spread access to different nodes. But since things are in the same zone, we have more potent things. But one of the things that was lost was Delirium maps don't drop anymore. Delirious, which is kind of sad because a lot of people really enjoy just chaining Delirium maps.
But there
to
was
various degrees.
the offhand comment of them making them more common or something, right?
The orbs, yeah. But
that's
changing
kind
a
of
point
like-
1 to a point 2 doesn't really compared to the prior.
Yeah, for me, Delirium Orbs were always, pick this up, it's 10C, never ever use them. Now they'll be more common, maybe I'll consider using them.
You won't, though. It's the hoarder mentality of, oh, cool, I've got this really cool consumable.
Well,
I'm
I
gonna
didn't
put
use
this
them
here.
previously because I thought my character isn't powerful enough to do Delirious maps, so it would be better to sell them to someone who can do Delirious maps.
Such faith.
I mean, I
Faith.
just didn't run them because I don't like it when my whole screen turns gray.
Yeah, it's depressing.
It
Do you like
becomes
this,
a soup.
Do you like this league mechanic, then, where the whole screen turns grey, but there's a
I
little
do.
red line in it, so you can see?
No, the whole screen turns red, and that's better.
Yeah.
I
agree.
will die on this hill.
Tell that to
better
colorblind
than
people.
grey.
To dogs, it all looks the same.
Okay.
I'm not
Sure,
calling
I mean-
colorblind people dogs. I'm just saying, a dog see in black and white, and so, same thing.
Wow.
Dogs have 2 color cones, right? So they see some color. It's not entirely black and white, but I'm not sure if they see red.
Well, they see in, heterochromia, or,
Don't tell me how many cones
It
I
might
have.
as well be grayscale if there's only 2. They don't know any difference. See, look,
I can ask him.
Betty loves the league.
Hey, what colors do you see? As if he could give a meaningful answer even if he could speak.
Give him 150 of those buttons they press to know English words.
He still wouldn't see the colors.
Yeah, but he could convey the colors to us.
But even if he could say, I see this color, we have no frame of reference for
Or what
what
that
his
is for
green
him,
looks like
yeah.
versus how we see green.
That's the misconception
Anyways.
with colorblindness.
This is very on topic.
Yes.
There's no
I wanted
topic.
to talk about color theory more, but yeah, let's talk about Path of Exile.
I mean, you can talk about what you want. I was going to bring up how they how they made all these endgame editions, right? All this new content, all this previous expansions now expanded further kind of thing, and they only on their Scourge page, they only brought it up in one section, whereas Expedition, they're like, hey, here's all this quality of life endgame changes. It's going to be 80% of what we talk about. And then when the League actually hit, people were like, cool. Whereas this time it's like, hey, here's a casual mention of something that might have more of an impact. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like,
I understand a thing you just said, to be honest.
They did hype up, like...
They hyped the shit out of the changes. They were talking about this
previously. They're like, we're going to change how the endgame works next league, so be patient.
I don't know.
Next league being next league or next league being this league?
This league.
This league, yeah. Previous league, which is still currently going on for like 1 or 2 more days, I think. They were like, oh yeah, I know you have problems with, it takes too many watchstones, there's too many maps, it takes too long to get to the end game. Yes, we're addressing that next league, and that's this league.
I just mean, like, in Expedition, hey, here's all these quality of life changes, we're going to change a whole bunch of leagues. There was a lot of stuff, and I'm sure, like, a couple of the things were impactful to me, but most of it wasn't because I was ignoring that content because I didn't like it. But now with these changes, it's, hey, all this previous content, we're like changing Delve, we're introducing new stuff because you're bored with Blight, here's some new harder Blight. It's actually, like, impacting me more, but there's less of it, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think we just know yet. It's hard to say until we know the accessibility to the content. I mean, overall,
that's the
most
point
of these changes, from my perspective, just sounds like they're just adding a 0 to things, which I don't always particularly like unless there's new things locked behind them, which only is the case, I believe, for Blight, because it sounds like the Breach thing can drop off of any Breach stone, the Amulet, unless I misheard that. And
I think it might say in the reveal...
Yeah, I know it's not just Unatal. It's just
it's any of the Breach Lords at the highest tier, obviously. So,
yeah, like, so that's at least locked behind newer content. And then Legion, I don't think has anything new unless we haven't placed it yet. But
Unrelenting Embers.
You mean like no new mechanics? Because they got
no new unique drops.
No, nothing new. It's just more like instead of getting 1 exalt, you get 2 exalts.
The reward. Yeah,
I don't particularly ever really care about that because it's arguably the time it takes to access that content or even do the content. You could just probably run 10 more maps and make up the difference if there's nothing that's exclusive to that. Versus like doing a Blight, I could just get something that has intrinsically like a value, like this amulet only comes from here, so this is where it's gonna be and this is why it's valuable, versus I now get 1 exalt plus 2 exalts.
It could be a repeat of Legion League where it's like, this set is really profitable to run, but only if you have a headhunter, so everyone just sells the ones they have to the guy that has the headhunter.
Granted, I think the Blight maps specifically is a kind of tangential, but I think they're going to be very easy because of you can have multiple oils on them, which if you've never done Blight maps, even if you've done a tier 16 Blight map with like loot oils versus 60% reduced cost of tower oils, it like makes it child's play. And I think that's going to probably scale similarly to if you were to use 3 good oils and then 6 like damage boosting or tower reduction oils, you could probably go take a nap and come back and it'll be just done for you.
All you do is 3 Amber Oils on a regular Blighted map. You go in and you spend your entire time building scout towers, nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, there's like also, everyone has like a hard-on for scout towers, but there's about 90 combinations of towers that just make it just to the point that make it like totally irrelevant.
Scout towers suck.
But if you want to turn your brain off, scout.
Nah, they're garbage.
That's fine. They're good.
But shit.
Yeah, I mean, go. Yep. No, you go.
I was going to say some stupid bullshit, basically. I was just going to say that all I can think of...
That's what this podcast is for.
All I can think of is like dozens and dozens of scouts from TF2 standing threateningly in a line.
Mm-hmm.
If you was from
that would work.
where I was from...
But they'll just walk up and kneecap you. That's it. That's all they do.
No, that would work because it... Tangent. If you had... all of your TF2 team be one character, Scout would probably be the one to go because Scout has debuffs, he has heals, he has damage, he has movement.
I feel like that's still hard countered by engineers. If you had 5
all my public lobbies have taught me that you only go spy or sniper, unless you're on defense, in which case you only go engineer.
I feel like soldier's the highest skill cap though because of the rocket jumping.
Rocket jumping is extremely good. Also, I've heard of sniper be called better spy.
Yeah. Spy
Because
inherently
Spy
is just-
can kill people with one hit at melee range, and Sniper can kill people in one hit at any range.
I'm sorry,
The
I
same
only
job
played
that skill
medieval servers, so bow and arrow and stabbing people was all I did. Fuck
Yeah, even their bow and arrow would be
charging with the demo man? Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, Medieval, very fun.
Yeah, I mean, I
This
think
is
that
a TF2 podcast now.
Hey, it's an
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
podcast. I never said it was
Speaking of-
PoE themed.
to come back full circle, the Blight Amulet. I almost just made a video talking about it because it's probably the thing I've spoken about with people in stream the most of anything related to Scourge, because everyone comes in and chat and they're like, "Lighty, have you seen the Blight Amulet? It's insane." To which I reply, "It's a lot worse than you think when you think of how easy it is to craft a good rare amulet." Also, the context of the value per anoint is essentially gated behind 2 affixes, because you could, if you have 3 notables, you can also just have 6 affixes for a rare. So what's
Consider
the best?
this.
Yeah.
Consider this. So most of my builds sprawl all the way across the tree because there are too many things that I have to get and they're too far away from each other. So let's say using this amulet saves me literally like 30 passive points. Then, because the mod, the only explicit mod is that you can have multiple anoints, right? There's speculation with some argument behind it that you can vol it and brick it into a rare and it will keep the anoint.
So that's where I was getting. There's only, in my opinion, 2 uses for the amulet effectively. I think the use number 1 is, and I don't know for a fact if this works, although it should, would be accessing notables gated behind timeless jewels. I think that's the biggest one, because you can have effectively 160 crit on the amulet, or you can have 200 or 320 minion damage on the amulet. There's a couple things like that you can get. So that's a big one.
I'm pretty sure if you
40% more
allocate
bleed.
a notable with an anoint that is affected by a timeless jewel, it just gives you the original notable, not
It
the
doesn't.
affected one.
I've done it before. It actually does convert it.
Yep.
Oh, sweet.
So if it does convert, this amulet now has that's like the first layer of use. The second layer of use is what you're talking about, which is retaining the enchantments, which comes back to the crown of the cryophile, which was people have done that, and they've enchanted multiple 5 helmets with the exact same enchants, val them, brick them, and then combine them. You can get a basically unaffected version that does retain the enchants.
I mean,
so it works the
let's
same way
say-
that the
That's
helmet
insane.
does.
They want you to
Then
scout
you're going
to
to have a
scourge it, right?
huge sink. I mean, people will be buying. It'll be the price could be insane for the people who are trying to make just one amulet that has the best 4.
Oh yeah,
And that could,
the
on
amount that
average,
you have
take
to roll to get
25.
5 rares.
25
Yeah.
is the average.
That sounds like a standard currency level project to me.
The intercurrency level is just trade level 1 week behind.
People just
realistically,
need
for a lot of
goals,
people.
though. And so this is just another goal for another crazy person to do, and there's so
But
many different builds and so many
the
different...
problem is that this goal though is going to fuck over people who just want to play with the amulet, like Jousis.
Yeah, I just
So-
want to anoint 3 power charges or something.
Well, if
Yeah,
the
and
people
because
just
of that-
want to play with the amulet, then they've literally got a goal of doing Blight the entire league.
Yeah, but I'm saying the amount. If you had I think if this does work the way we just discussed it does, I think the amount entering the game is going to be close to the amount exiting the game. At the rate of people
So many are
buying
gonna-
them. Yeah.
And I just want to give me just a sec. I'm going to go look up the teaser because I believe it said 3 additional anoints, which would
Yes,
mean
there's
it gets
4.
4.
You have your base anoint plus the 3, so it's 4 in total.
Okay.
But that's
So
also
3
something
power
like
charges and a minimum power charge.
Wonder how
outside
that
of the
works for rolling
preview of
over
what we're
them.
talking about. Like for almost every build, you have to understand that like if it's any build that scales gem levels, a +2 amulet, unless this thing is saving you like he's talking about 40 passive points, is just going to be better than like 3 anoints for damage. There's just nothing that really comes close to that sort of thing. I'm just like if you had a +2 amulet for almost any build that requires gems, and you could just mastercraft on another affix, that's going to be way more damage than like 3 random damaging anoints, especially ones that you're probably going to be pathing here anyway. Even for like the charge argument, most builds that require 3 charges are near them, or like it's not that far out of the way to get the additional 3.
So this is not a very common build. It'd be very weird.
Yeah.
But you could do some memes with Slayer Discharge where you path to get as many of the power charges as you can, and you use the amulet to anoint frenzies, which then gives you endurances.
For sure. So there's like a couple of uses, like that's one we've discussed, but it's the point. The point is, in summation, it's a lot more niche than people might think. As far as I can just anoint 3 good things, now this is good, because most of the things you want to anoint, you probably want to path through anyway. So like a lot of people are like, oh, you could anoint like sovereignty and charisma, and like I'll get all the ores, but you're going to want to path through them to grab the 4% reduction node. So it's kind of like a moot point for a lot of these things. But it's like the perfect unique, though, as far as like being a unique item. I mean, it's covers all the bases, I feel like.
This doesn't quite work for the build that I did because it requires Badge of the Brotherhood. Remember where I did 11 power charges and then Slayer with Badge of the Brotherhood, so I had 11 of each charge.
That's also like the opposition is that there are like really fucking good unique amulets like Badge or Pandemonious. Like there are already things that exist that are probably just better than whatever the 3 things you're anointing. So
that build was only possible because I could anoint the extra power charge over on the right side of the tree, because it would have taken another 20 points to get there, and there was absolutely nothing over there that I wanted.
I'm really curious what I mean, it won't affect me because, again, prices don't affect Soul Hellbound, but this could be a thing that is either going to be like kind of worthless or insanely expensive because they're going to be coming in and out so fast, which I'm really psyched to see what happens.
I think what happens, they're going to end up changing it so that you can't have 5 bricked rares with 4 anoints each and then vendor it and get an unbricked rare with 4 anoints. That's not, and then the
price tanks, and that's okay because that's more accessible. And then
people can get them,
which I think should. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the concept of chase uniques. Granted, none of it affects me really, but I don't. I hate to see someone who wants to use unique basically has no chance of using it because of the price can be like. Previously, for example, Badge of the Brotherhood was like 60 exalted, 80. I mean, the price gets insane. So I'm curious.
I bought it for 10 chaos in Blight League.
Oh yeah, they were.
And then it was
absolutely nothing.
Expensive.
So it's be interesting seeing things like Mage Blood is a good example of. I don't think it's particularly build enabling outside of the purview of like it offers you pretty much res cap instantly and like 100 move speed, but I don't think it's like as necessary to be accessible. Like it's very, very. Bougie.
Oh yeah, it's very rare. They said it's almost headhunter rare.
I mean, it is.
But it's rare.
An interesting. It's a really interesting way to make a unique that's basically just a whole bunch of good stats. Oh yeah, because it's similar to something like a Disfavor or a Starforge back when those were at the pinnacle of their particular class, where it's just like this is good item that have many stat. Except it's much more interesting than that because you can kind of customize it by swapping flasks in and out and crap like that.
And it does have a drawback. Like people don't think it has a drawback. It has a very large drawback, just not in the context of how good it is. Like the drawback meaning you only have one flask now, effectively.
Most uniques are like customizable though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole point, is like, hey, here's a unique, put a fucking socket in, it attributes to your body armor. Hey, here's a unique, put 3 of them in, it changes. It's all like, hey, here's a whole... Hey, previous league, we want to make a league where everyone... It's like, hey, there's new builds, we've shaken up the meta. This one, they're actually like, hey, here's a whole bunch of shit that enables a whole bunch of random shit. Have fun, you know?
Get a 6-link poet's pen in your build.
Yeah, I think there's an inherent difference, though, like, of if you're saying the downside of an item isn't necessarily, or shouldn't necessarily be weighted in what you could run there, more in what it is taking away from you by using it. So what I mean by that is like Badge of the Brotherhood doesn't have anything negative really about it in the scheme of what it does, but you could argue that it's worse because you could have a 6 tier 1 mirror rare. But like Mage Blood actually has something that's, I would say, a considerable drawback for the normal play of the game, despite it being massively offset by what it offers. If that makes any sense.
Sure. Unique flasks are shit, though, anyway.
Hey,
well,
Taste of Hate
they're
is
much
still
worse. Good. Taste is good. Dying Sun is, like, probably still top 3 flask, I would say, just because of what it offers. Can't be acquired elsewhere, really, on a flask.
And there are certain skills for which it, like, triples their damage.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the defensive aspects of it are by far the best. Like, just the fact that it could basically give you capped res. Well, it'll give you over-capped res, even through the largest... LE weakness, and also if it does work with quality and kindling, all that stuff. I don't know if they've said it does yes or no, but if it does work with that, then it gives you 40% less elemental damage taken.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good.
Degen, like it's I mean far better than Headhunter in my opinion for almost every aspect of the game.
Fun.
Yeah, but it also gives you 100 move speed. Like
it's much more consistent too. That's the big thing to me. That's why I would throw this on a build before a Headhunter, like any day of the week, because it's good everywhere all the time. You're not rolling the dice on getting a good rare aura, which admittedly you're not really rolling the dice if you have a map that's got 100% quantity and like 35 pack size and double beyond and 7 scarabs in it or whatever. I'm exaggerating slightly there. So you're not really rolling the dice in that situation because there's so many rares that you've essentially loaded the dice. But if you just want to like alch and go on maps and shit, like it's always going to give you the good shit. It's always going to be just have a Quicksilver all the time. Have perma onslaught if you want.
It's basically a raider on built. I mean, realistically, is what it is. It just makes you a raider on top of
you can get a ton of move speed phasing an onslaught all the time and still have another slot open to use.
Yep, and like cap crit. It's like I think you hit on the nail on the head where it comes to a lot of things in Path of Exile. I would always take like consistency for quality. As far as like, I'd rather be like 99. Rather like be not LE avoidance capped and then be 99% is like kind of the same thing for me because once it occurs, it's like ruined the mood. Like I just want to have immunities and effective like baselines for everything. So this belt like just does that perfectly.
The Trickster node, for example.
I hate that.
I would much rather have 50% less damage over time taken 100% of the time instead of no damage over time taken for 5 seconds every 10 seconds.
There's so much work today.
They learned this lesson too with Elementalist. They implemented Elementalist's sort of like pendulum nature and this flip-flopping back and forth between modes so well when they changed Elementalist a couple leagues back and made it so like it's AoE mode while you're clearing trash, but when you hit a rare unique, it goes into damage mode. You could do a similar thing with Trickster, where when you start taking damage from damage over time, then you're immune to it or have very high resistance to it for the next 5 seconds. And that's on cooldown for a little bit. Yeah. That could have just like been in Trickster.
Yeah. Random feels bad.
It could have been like stronger and in Trickster, and that would have fit Trickster's identity, and it didn't I don't see why it had to be a keystone on the tree.
If I have something really impactful that's on a timer, like, I have it for 4 seconds every 8 seconds or something, there needs to be something like very visually obvious about it so that I can like get into a rhythm of playing around it.
Mm-hmm. And there could be. I mean, we don't know for a fact, but like also then you have to pay attention so much more also because you have the burden of being time synced with your play, which is like not that everyone wants to like not pay attention in Path, but like to a degree, I mean, I don't have to pay attention every off 5 seconds because if I don't, like RF kills me. A trigger is so much better than a timer because you still do have to play around it to some degree. You have to be aware of the context you're in and go, oh, okay, I'm up against a boss now. This trigger is going to happen. If it's something that you do actively want to play around, you do have to think about it somewhat. It gives you some measure of context rather than just randomly yo-yoing back and... Well, not randomly, I guess, but feels like randomly yo-yoing back and forth. Rhythmic yo-yo.
Yeah, definitely. Like if I'm fighting Shaper or something and the beam hits me and I'm taking 0 damage at all, it's like, okay, now I know that the pendulum is swinging that way. But it's better if it's like I have some feedback, as in the beam hits me and I start taking very little damage over time, but I know because it's reactionary that if I stand in the beam for the whole time, it's going to kill me.
What if even giving you an ability? Like
what if it was like? What if it was like Tricksters are immune to damage over time while affected by a guard skill? Then you have some control over it.
Then you could hit Steel Skin and be good to go, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and if you wanted to keep it automated, you just put Steel Skin on left mouse. There you go.
Click, yeah. Which I feel like they're going to remove. To be honest, I feel like they're going to remove a lot of left click because they did for the curse bot. They removed the left click from Effigy, from Doji's Effigy, which to me just kills it. Interesting.
I think that was more of a targeted nerf towards curse bots than it is a sign of because they had a dude. I follow him on Twitter, and he was complaining about how problematic it was to implement. I knew a dude who was at GGG whose job it was over the course of a couple weeks to make things work on left mouse. And apparently there were a lot of problems with that. A lot of skills didn't like working on left mouse for one random reason or another, and he tweeted about it like 4 or 5 times about how frustrating it was to get Blood Rage to work. So if they put in that kind of time and development effort to make it function, it would be weird to see them yank it away a couple leagues later.
Valid points all around.
I can only imagine the spaghetti that prevents Blood Rage from working on left click. Like, that's unfathomable to me.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Like, well, it doesn't have a flag when it runs out, but it does.
Do they not have a very cohesive object-oriented structure where each individual one has to be implemented differently or something.
Well, how frequently does
You guys would know a lot more about it than me.
How frequently does walking trigger like?
I mean,
an
I'm a
event?
software engineer, but I don't work on games.
And I'm a shit
And I also
programmer.
don't code in C++.
I work playing games, and I'm not a software engineer.
Same.
I code in
Just
if
like
functions. I'm no better than that fucking Yandere dev. Yeah, no.
I made some cool stuff in Minecraft with Redstone.
Oh, cool.
I did that as well.
Like
That was
a
great.
smooth stone generator? Fuck yeah. Love that
There
shit.
was the server that I was playing on, the way that we would weed out people who were just joining to like blow stuff up and ruin builds and stuff is we had a maze at the front of it, and you had to actually solve it to get into the server, and most people who were just there to be dicks didn't want to put in the time and effort, so they left. And
Amazing.
one time, me and a friend on the server designed a maze that you could feed. It had a redstone piston loop that, through using glass and solid blocks, would keep like essentially memory, like very basic memory. And you could program using different solid blocks and glass in the piston loop, and then pull a lever, and the maze would rearrange itself depending on what you'd programmed.
Damn.
It was neat, and the guy I was working with did more of the work than I did because I'm not very good at it.
I love. There was so my strategy was to hide my base, right? And it's really hard to hide your base most of the time. So what I did was there was like a mountain, right? And there is a specific spot on the side of the mountain where if you threw a stick onto a grass block, it would suck it into a hopper and then like burn in a furnace. And if it was exactly one stick, it would piston open a door for a few seconds. And it was undetectable from the outside unless the pistons went off.
This is your house in real life?
Sure, yeah, let's go with that.
His key is a consumable.
Your poor fucking neighbors are like,
I have to
look,
throw
he's
a
throwing
stick
sticks
at a mountain
again.
to open my front door in real life.
Sounds like
Literal
religion.
bourgeoisie over here.
Wait, you
upper
guys have
class.
houses? Damn. Living the rich life.
I'm in an
green screen.
apartment.
Yeah. I'm also in his apartment.
Can I move in? Actually, you live in America. I'd take that back.
And we're in the
Fair.
same time zone. I mean, the facts
No
are adding
offense
up.
taken.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to be the guy that brings it back this time. You know, like when you blink into the night. Actually, fucking derailing myself immediately. In the trailer, when the female or male or
That didn't
whatever the
last
hell
long.
was doing the
Vampire?
voiceover about like, oh, they're invading your Rayclast and they're going to fuck you up. And I'm like, is she talking about us? Like, are we going into someone else's house and the point of view from the person is like, the nightmare is coming, and it's just literally all the footage you see is an exile blinking into someone's house and beating the shit out of them, then blinking out.
We could be the nightmare. I mean, we are
We are the
officially
bad guys.
residents of Rayclast after Expedition. I think the time
are
has
one
passed
monster
enough where they do call us the locals, you know, so maybe we're like officially.
Because
Yeah,
they're
I
living in
love-
like a parallel
this headcanon
Rayclast.
where the expedition NPCs are from another island that's just like completely normal. Like there's nothing
Oh, yeah.
wrong. There's nothing supernatural. They show up and they're
That's
like, oh, these are the
Chicago,
crazy
yeah.
locals.
Well, they do cool stuff with like they can turn starlight into weapons, and that's kind of neat.
Who can't do that? I mean, let's be honest.
I'm sorry, I
One
was
YouTube tutorial
I was
away.
on the Council of Wizards at the moment.
Primitive technology.
Guy's not in the fucking Wizard Council. Jeez.
But
You
yeah, I
gotta
mean,
stay a virgin until the age of 40 to be on the Wizard Council.
Yeah. You're on your way, Jim.
Thanks.
that is
problem.
that is a little bit tamer magic than like sticking gems in your forehead and learning how to shoot fireballs with your mind.
Yeah.
That was actually an interesting point that someone made about the lore, is that maybe like the reason the exile is so powerful is because they're putting the gems in the gear instead of in their skin, which tends to end poorly for the people that do that.
Could be.
What about jewels, though?
Right
Yeah,
in their
jewels-
ass. That's just
Yeah, what
Jewels
is the
go
trick?
into your soul.
I've been doing it wrong, I guess.
Maybe the
that's
skill
the gateway to
tree.
the soul.
Maybe the skill tree
It
is
is.
just a coloring in book, and jewels are just you like putting little collectible stickers.
Aw, that's
You've
cute.
had a mental break, and you're in a hospital, and you get a couple of stickers, and I get to unlock them. Oh, they changed the coloring.
It's like
book.
a
It's
real-
cool.
Leaking 7.8.
They'll peer into your mind, Jim. You live in a hovel and you've just been coloring
I got
books
some
at
coloring books.
local hospitals and just eating chicken nuggies.
Dude,
Path of Exile League 7.8. It was all a dream.
we've been chatting for so long, my rectangle pie is frozen again. Oh.
Oh no.
Oh man, you're just eating square food now?
Yeah, it's like moon food. It's great.
No, rectangle pie.
Is it actually freeze dried?
No. I mean, it's.
You sounded really disappointed when you said that.
I'd love some freeze-dried ice cream or something. No, it's solidified now. I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, yeah, the point I was going to bring up that I derailed from. Something. What is it? The little stacks of, the more stacks that you have when you enter the zone, the more the monsters hurt you, and then when you leave the zone, those stacks, like, grey out. Do they stay there so the next time you go back in that nightmare, if you're already in that zone, you've already got the pre-built up stacks, and that's, like, the sort of, like, entropy thing to stop you from consistently going back and forth? Does that make sense?
Yeah, they do stay. Grim had like a Q&A with a dev about it at one point, and that was one of the questions he asked. So the stacks are like per instance, I guess. So like if you get 20 stacks and then leave the demon world and then go kill some more stuff and then go back, you'll start at 20.
But it doesn't... Like, the stacks won't reduce how much blood you get from rest of the monsters in the map and stuff like that.
No, the stacks just cause you to take increased damage.
Sweet. Demon
Do I
World
take
nightmare.
increased damage for myself?
Probably.
It's like shock, but you can't be immune to it.
Oh, amazing. So I'll eventually kill myself with my build.
Probably, yes. Is
Yep.
this unusual?
No.
No, this is going to happen, but it's going to happen less often than it was. I originally theory crafted to just have 2 replica Tollfall and just go crazy, which would instantly kill me if there was a huge pack of enemies.
The stacks, though, can you temporal shift and revert them?
Probably
not.
When
It
he was
only
talking-
affects your life, mana, energy shield, and position. It doesn't do anything else.
It's not like character state. It's a... Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, because it can't bring you back to life. That's
Yeah.
They asked
Server
about
state.
ward, and he was like, I'm not sure, I'd have to ask.
Can I, like...
Someone frantically types in ward.
Can I, like,
Actually,
vow a bunch of items, then temporal rift back to the pre-vowed state?
Yeah, rollback. It causes an entire server rollback for everyone that's playing.
First person
asked
to
the
unlock
question about-
temporal rift resets
about
the
if it
servers.
can roll back your death, though. His response was it can't be used with trigger gems. Like, it can't be
Yeah,
triggered.
so you can't trigger it on death.
He didn't say you can't do it the same frame you die.
It's an
If
aura.
it's the same frame, that's a
Frame
race
perfect
condition.
reroll.
Can you cast when damage taken auras?
Interesting. Path of Exile has race conditions.
I didn't
Play
think...
the game, or
I don't think so.
I feel like you could program against a race condition for that specifically. You could say, oh, in this game tick where I'm going to send data to the client, I have to decide these 2 things are happening within the same tick. I prioritize one of them. That's
for how
the
many
way you
years?
prevent
How many
race
years has
conditions.
Path of Exile been seeing race? Do you think?
Lighty,
We have races as
I
events.
thought he said rates. I don't know what the fuck you're talking
rates.
about. Also, they said they don't do anything like that. I'm pretty sure that's why, like, when
Like
you...
what, Jim?
Like what Jousis is saying, not what you're saying.
Okay.
Like when you
Alright,
like when you used to jump into a pack and the game like stuttered because it's like, one sec, I'm gonna do all of these in order. There's no synchronous like ranking of whatever the fuck Lighty was saying. I'm pretty sure it's all as it comes in kind of thing. That's why they're so proud of their damage calculation and why we'll never get a death log. Because they can't look at a whole bunch of data and be like, yes, all of these ones are the primary reasons for you horrifically dying. It'd just be, here's the last 100 things. Oh, there was 98 ticks of a dot in here because that's how we're calculating
It's
things.
very like, having faith in your creator type thing and not questioning them in a way where it's like, we can't make a damage log because our system for calculating damage is so good. So
No, not so good.
Plug.
So
It's
fucking
so complicated.
spaghetti.
You
It's
could
so
at least...
shit.
Okay, but you could at least make a little scarecrow dude in the hideout that as you hit it, racks up how much damage it's taken.
You
because
could.
they do track damage on enemies,
You
and then
could do
outputs
that.
that number after 3 seconds
But
or 2 seconds or whatever.
You could do that, but then some cunt like Jousis is going to be like, I'm going to see if I can take out the server by getting all of my guild to play my exact build and attack a scarecrow at the exact same time on the exact
Then
same
don't let
shard.
people put it in the guild hideout. Or don't let other people hit it.
The way that it works, you would only crash that one instance. It wouldn't affect anyone
just
else
have
that's
to
playing,
remember
so that's
that-
not a concern.
For every good thing you want, there's someone out there who's like, how can I abuse this to ruin other people's fun?
True.
go into someone's hideout and worm blast a billion corpses on
And
the
that's
ground
why
and never go away.
some things are designed that they know full well they're going to destroy it after the league, because they're like, we're going to put this in, people are going to have fun, and then we're going to delete it.
There was actually a way to hard crash people's hideouts with expedition specters in this last league. It got patched after a couple weeks, but there was a expedition monster, the sort of big, giant rat-looking things that would crawl around and then pull their own chest open. Do you remember those? Very vivid description. Like the
all of my builds have too many visuals for me to see what monsters.
I know all their names, so I'm curious which one you're talking about.
I don't know
Jeff.
the name of the monster. I'm sorry.
Did it have like a weapon or no?
Dave.
No. I think it showed up with the druid faction, and it would pull open its own chest and spawn a bunch of rats, like spawn a bunch of little rats.
The invulnerable rat bastards?
Those, yes.
I hate
And
Those
it
names,
would.
yeah.
That's
So
the
those
internal name.
So the way that those worked is those would have a charge of an ability that would allow them to do that, and on using that ability, they would lose their charge. And if you resummoned it as a specter, every time you resummon it, it gains the charge, and it does it when it aggroes on enemies. So what you do is you keep resummoning the specter in the hideout and popping worm flask, and it sees the worm and goes, okay, I'm going to spawn rats, and then you resummon your specter, pop worms, do it again, do it again, do it again. The rats never go away.
I remember
rats.
seeing the
That's a lot of
PNG
rats.
of like 1 million rats in a hideout now.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's the specters from Expedition were really funny because I don't know if you saw all the names from PvD, but like they all had their names thematic towards their own like faction. So it was like Arbalist, like of the Black Scythe Arbalist, or like Knight of the Sun Templar, and then there was one of them that was just called Megadeth Skeleton for some reason. I was like, what the fuck is this called?
So
but that was just the one that like lunged and did the cleave. He was just called Megadeth Skeleton.
They got to program in the
original
one-shots. People are expecting them. It's like they
but
made
I
an
just
entire
remember summoning
league.
him and then looking at like the PvD being like, what the fuck? It's called Megadeth. No name, no reference to anything in Path, just Megadeth Skeleton. I was like, this is
Someone
perfect.
thought the league was too easy, and we're like, we got to program in some one-shots.
Unfortunately, they were all pretty shit. But they were really cool though. I loved like them thematically, and they came with Ward, which was kind of fun. I mean,
They're terrifying when you verse them, but when you play it yourself, it's a bit.
speaking of Ward, they recently buffed and nerfed Ward upcoming, and that fact they nerfed Night Grip before buffed the base value of Ward. I don't think they added, at least we didn't see, they didn't add any directed scaling towards Ward in the tree, but there could be global defense scaling that we didn't see yet. That I didn't look at.
And it's also been made easier to get a Global Defenses chess piece, like one of the grasping mails. That's what it's called. I think Night Grip is still going to be quite strong because
for sure.
the debuff down to 20%, or the nerf down to 20%, is, in my opinion, compensated for by the buffs to the flat values.
For sure, offset, yeah.
Yeah. Like, getting good flat in that build was tough to begin with. You had to be Pathfinder, basically, so you had the ward flask up all the time, and then the helmet made up almost all the rest of your ward, unless you wanted to give up move speed or life on your boots.
I mean, in the league, I had a 650 ward helmet I made, so you can get them pretty high. And then normally the boots we get up to about 450 if you want to retain move speed. But that was double or triple tier 1, 30% quality, all the 9. So, but even then, I think the advent of White Knight Grip is so good is that it gives you the damage bonus because it's based off your maximum ward, not your current ward. So even if you got hit and you lost your ward, whatever that buffer would be, you still have the damage, which was a metric fuck ton of chaos damage. So the build, I think, will still definitely retain its usefulness.
For me, Ward was... I was confused about Ward because it struck me as a mechanic that's impossible to balance because it's very all or nothing. It's either you take the hit and you survive, or you get hit by something that did 1 damage and then you get hit by something that one-shots you and you don't survive. So it's like the odds of it actually protecting you against a hit that would have otherwise killed you is very low compared to the investment towards getting it.
I think it was basically the way I viewed it, at least, it was a 4-second cooldown on preventing 1 hit for builds that already weren't getting hit. So if I used Ward on Spectral Shield to Raider, which I had a pretty max version of in Solo Self-Found, so I had 4,500 life. I had whatever amount of evasion, dodge, everything else pretty much was capped. So if I were to get hit once every 4 seconds, it would probably prevent me from dying. That was its only real usage for me, which I think was as much as I needed to do, which was fine.
Just Energy Shield adjacent, right? That's sort of what Energy Shield is supposed to do. It's
I
get hit once every 2 seconds.
Yeah, but
if you were to take damage in that interim, it's not coming back up for
And
but Energy Shield fulfills the same purpose, and you can restore it.
But it's worse for the builds I'm describing, though.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Octavian.
Acro was basically what I was going to point at.
Yeah.
Like, Acro and Energy Shield don't play nice. But that won't be a thing next league, so it doesn't really matter.
Can you press a
new
flask
dodge.
and instantly restore all of your energy shield?
There is that, but ward, again, you would get hit once and then it's all gone again.
Yeah, but like if you're playing like an evasion build, you've already been hit once, and then doesn't that reset your entropy or whatever? I don't know how dodge
also
works.
Spells.
Yeah.
So if you're a dodge build and an evasion build, and this is pre the next thing that takes out dodge, and you had ward, and you had that keystone, that was probably a really good use of it, and you could carry the flask in case of emergencies or something.
Yeah. That's basically what I did, which I had it all automated, but effectively I had enough levels of layers of defense where I could sit in the pack and not get hit really anyway. And if I did get hit, effectively made my 4.5k life pool up to like 5k, which was
Now
really all I
with the
needed
changes
to do.
to energy shield, where they like 66% reduced time to recharge, to start recharging. Yeah, that's really, really good. I'm hoping that it's actually good enough for me to just use energy shield the way it's meant to be used instead of constantly leeching or something.
Yep.
And that completely damaged
think,
any excitement I had about ward.
I think on a block build, it could be used in that regard. Or something that's just high evasion, I guess, but then you still have spells.
Yeah.
Spell hits are so annoying for that.
I'm going to have high evasion, high spell suppression, not spell dodge, and I'm going to have energy shield because the Forbidden Rite is going to be damaging my life and not my energy shield, and I'm hoping that at some point I'll be able to recharge my energy shield, because, I mean, technically I'm hitting myself with Forbidden Rite even though it's not damaging my energy shield, and that'll stop the recharge, I think.
Yeah. Because it might stop the recharge because it's actually damage from Forbidden Rite and it's not life sacrificed.
Yeah, I'm not sacrificing life, it's actually hitting me for that much chaos damage.
Yeah, I think that might stop recharge.
Yeah.
Unless you have like Wicked Ward or something. There,
You get some sort of leech, but that's about it.
Eternal Youth is really interesting now with the buffs to recharge, because presumably those will carry over into life recharge buffs if you turn it into life recharge rate instead of ES recharge rate.
Replica Soul Tether is really, really fucking good now. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is that?
It gives you Corrupted Soul, but you can always just spec into the regular Soul Tether. So basically like a double Soul Tether. Or not Soul Tether, sorry. Yeah, Soul Tether. No, what is it called?
Yeah, you're right. If you're talking about the belt.
Yes. Yeah. Not the blue one. What is the blue one? Yeah, Soul Tethers. Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Let's talk about the Orbital. Yeah. Which I thought of first when I saw that, like, Soul Tether. When I first saw the Mage Blood dot, very tangential again, but like, I was like, I didn't read the line that said Magic Flask, and I was like, this shit is the best thing in the game. You can get, like, crazy things going on there.
It could be a Taste of Hate, a Series Promise, some other really Dying Sun, the flask that makes ward permanent.
Yep. Still insane. But yeah, I was thinking of the Reckless.
Wait, how does that work with ward flask? Okay, so it would just give you the flat amount of ward, and it wouldn't ever restore your ward.
Because it's not ever being used. So it would just be another slot to get flat ward out of.
A lot of flat ward, though. If enkindled, I guess, would be.
If you're doing like Night Grip stuff where the ward is really not that useful because 75% of damage bypasses it, then I can see that being great. It's just, juice a bunch of damage alongside the other damage you can get out of the belt slot by getting Perma Onslaught or Diamond Flask stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw it. There's a post in our group chat. They just showed one of the masteries not a couple hours ago for attribute stacking. Pretty insane. I think it's hard to say after the rebalance of the tree if overall masteries will be basically coming out to be like the same stuff or better or worse. I mean, it's hard. You have to do all the math on that. But I'm not sure if I like the idea of masteries yet. I think I have to mess around with it. I said tree's supposed to feel familiar enough that if you were to hop in, it shouldn't be foreign to you. Like your muscle memory should effectively know how to play path still as far as mapping to a tree. It does seem like a lot. Maybe it's just because of the way that they flashily describe it, but like it seems like it's pretty different looking.
Yeah,
normal tree stuff.
That's all the information we have on the tree so far.
It's all in the same place. They just change how stuff looks.
Well, it's different places because you can access things that might have been far away but now closer from a different master.
I'm sure they just mean like muscle memory. Where is the Scion life wheel? Oh, there it is. It looks different. It may be the way to get there's a little different, but more or less, where do I go for crit? You go to that area in the tree that, oh, look, there's crit around here. That's what they mean, muscle memory.
Mm-hmm. The biggest changes might be like certain keystones moving, because some of them did move a decent distance. Like, I guess L Equilibrium is probably the biggest one, where that like hopped facing to the inside of the tree.
There was the new keystone where you replenish energy shield based on mitigated physical damage.
Yep.
It's actually strictly worse than the line on the Juggernaut node, if I remember correctly. So it's 3% of physical damage prevented recently, which is over 4 seconds, whereas the Juggernaut one is 1.5% over 10 seconds. So the Juggernaut one is actually better, and this is only for energy shield. And I've made a build where I maximized my self-damage, which was mitigated so that I would gain some life regen from that Juggernaut node, and I got like 90 flat.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I don't think that keystone is going to be very useful.
Okay, though, as long as
someone
it does something.
was hyping it up. Who was that? Fucking
It's
Valor?
better if you have a very, very specific, like, you were already going to use Aegis Aurora, you might as well take that keystone. It's probably pretty good. But the amount of healing that it's going to give you in the long run, like, you'd have to be consistently taking gigantic physical hits and have 200,000 armor.
You taking big hits, bro?
Yeah, if you'd want to avoid, I think, taking gigantic hits just to give you more healing.
I think gigantic
that
hits
seems
are
counterproductive.
If you don't get hit, you never lose the health or energy shield.
You could also just not play, and you'll never get hit.
This is true.
You know?
That's the logical
Never risk
conclusion.
anything, and you'll never fail.
Just go Potion. All play scouts in Minecraft.
Hey, you literally are describing everyone who watches your stream, Lighty. They're not playing the game, they're watching you. They're winning.
90% of them.
They're winning.
Everybody.
Most of them are winning. You're losing.
I'm always losing.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's the game of all for one. I'm never really going to get there. It's just we just do better every league. Slightly more progress is gained.
Did you ever get any Ultimatum uniques?
Last league? Or
Yeah.
this league? Because this league I didn't get any Ultimate Uniques.
No shit.
Did you get any Ultimate Uniques this league?
No. I mean,
You have
last
secrets to
league.
share?
2 leagues ago. What day is it? Ultimatum League.
Yeah.
What was last
during an
league? Expedition, right? Nice.
Well,
Time you
currently-
could get them.
Yes, I got half of them, but that was, in my opinion, like the worst league ever for an implemented boss in the entire game for a multitude of reasons. Accessibility, one portal in a game that crashes a lot. Like, it's a total shit show.
I
So
didn't
not
even
having
get
a guarantee-
Wave 9.
Not even having a guaranteed drop rate. I mean, I did 32 Trial Masters, which was a lot. For most people in Soul 7, that's like a very high amount. But even then, I only ever got the helm off of him. Like, so it's just a shit show.
So when we kill shit in
never
Nightmare, and it drops an
I never
orb,
even got to the point where it was possible to spawn a Trial Master. I never made it to Wave 9.
I mean, I always made it to the
always-
last wave, that is.
I always got
just gonna
either
assume
there's
it works
something
like a
here that I
temple,
want and I don't want to
Octavian.
risk it.
Just gonna assume it works like a temple, and if you get loot in there, it'll just spit it out when you're done, right? With the Nightmare stuff. Like, you go in and it drops a fucking scout or whatever the fuck, fusing, and you go to pick it up and your blood runs out and you teleport back and it just stays in there.
Oh, it drops in the overworld in the place where you
the
would
same.
have been.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I'd assume it makes sense. Like, there's no way they would obviously
No,
forget something like
loot
that.
doesn't. So
It doesn't even show up in the Nightmare, it only comes when you spit it
it
out.
might show up in the Nightmare. I'm not certain on that, but when you swap back out of Nightmare, it will be in the Overload in the place in the Overworld in the place where it dropped, which does mean you have to get there.
Yeah,
because you'll be warped back to where you started from.
Some of these, like, cuts in their trailer, I can't tell whether they're, like, cutting between a favorable Nightmare clip and one that is, like, okay, finish your sentences. There are some when they jump from a zone to a Nightmare zone that looks completely different, that has a whole bunch of obstacles that weren't there in the original one.
Like,
so I'm assuming they're
topography
just...
changes, you're saying?
Yeah, not so much like the generic layout, but more like the random filler shit in the way. Like, he jumps from a clear plane
could
into
be.
something that has a whole bunch of, like, blocks and shit, I just imagine there's going to be a couple of clips, unless this is just tricky editing, where someone blinks in, gets stuck in a rock, and then just spends their entire blood
I'm
chilling in a
sure
rock.
for the first couple of days. I'm sure. I mean, it still happens
glorious.
in Legion to this day. Like
hopefully-
things still drop in Legion off the
In
map.
Incursion, you could go into an incursion, drop an item, and leave the incursion, and it would stay in the incursion, and you would never get it back.
Yeah. To be fair, though, Alva does tell you that the first time you encounter her. Not that you'd ever read it or listen to it, but
Nope.
just more
Spam
proof
click.
to the... Speaking of
I have
things that were very
muscle memoried. Click on NPC, spam right click on the ground near me to skip through all the dialogue. I have muscle memoried that, and it made me irrationally angry when they made it so that if you do that too quickly, it cancels out of the dialogue altogether.
Yep.
At some
And
point,
then-
they changed the window of time.
And then you can't click on them again for like 3 seconds. The game doesn't let you.
because you're spamming.
To be fair, me bitching about rocks is the whole Reddit argument of I have nothing to complain about. Also, if you go to the 35-second mark, someone's playing with 63 unallocated passive skills.
I'm convinced
Fucking
they do things to
devs.
upset people in
Just
these
spawning
trailers,
the
and that's totally fine.
Fucking
I mean,
I mean,
if you're going to put
inventories
something out
had, like,
there, you might as well
420,
have fun with
69,
it.
you know, whatever. Like, it's...
Yeah, the 42069 orbs. in
There's
your
probably a
inventory.
recipe to doing with like having 69 fusings. People just don't know.
Could be. It's possible. They don't even know what the recipes are. There's some weird, like, missing number Pokemon shit out there, maybe. Who knows?
Hell yeah. It's all to do with
Could be.
blind. That's why I need that shaker.
That would be amazing if you could, like, put things in a certain place to, like, alter memory at certain addresses and then cause a new thing to spawn by,
Who
like,
says you
modifying values of a mob or something. Like
Mario.
it's the way
Possible.
that those cartridges worked that allowed that is absolutely insane. I
That's
would be
already
amazed
happened,
if
though.
anything like that
in
was popular
PoE.
or
With
possible.
like the level
modern
like 120
architecture.
skill gems or whatever that shit, where it's just like fucking
143.
Gandhi overflow, and then suddenly there's all these new items in standard.
Yeah, that's a lot more plausible. The way that Missing No worked in Pokemon was absolutely insane. It was because memory was, like, literally the squares on the screen were storing values that were in memory elsewhere to save space, because they needed those, like, 8 bytes, because they didn't have enough memory.
Intuitive, you know. Sorry, not intuitive. It was inventive at the time for, like, finding out
Yeah,
ways to, like...
it was how they
fit
fit
it all
everything
in.
on the cartridge.
Yeah.
Shader caching. I don't
They just went back to
things.
Temple OS. This wouldn't be an issue.
Dude, that's a trip. Temple OS. I get that reference.
Good. I'm glad someone...
Some crazy guy. To people that don't get it, they need to know.
Probably
because
shouldn't talk about Terry Davis. That's...
some guy programmed an entire operating system by himself because he thought God told him to. That's the gist, basically.
Close enough, yeah.
An
He did it to-
entire
he did it to
operating
speak
system.
with God,
Just-
but yes.
Fucking
I mean,
fathomable. Like, what?
People have done
I-
worse things under the guise of religious guidance.
I just mean, like, it doesn't. They could do it for any reason. They could do it, like, because he likes.
He's sugarcoating
you know,
who the man
'cause
is.
Because
He's a crazy racist.
Oh yeah, no. Just glossing over that part. I don't care who he is. I don't care what he did. The fact that he hand coded an entire operating system is the part that's blowing my mind.
Like 12 years.
I had an operating systems class, so you made, like, the jankest, very minimalist operating system ever. Like, you could write a text file and open it and look at it in the terminal, and that was the operating system.
And he did a grip, a compiler, a kernel. He did it all from scratch. It was
So ours was called Potato S.
Good.
And there was an interesting bug. I don't remember exactly what triggered it, but it was all it did was you could write a text file and open it, right? If you did something wrong, it would show an ASCII character that looks like a potato with a smiley face. And I don't know, like, that was completely unintended behavior. I don't know how that happened. But
It's a sign from
it
God.
fit with it worked out with the name.
If that happens,
And the fact that the text file contained ASCII art of a potato, and that if you opened it wrong, it would output a single ASCII character that looked like a potato with a smiley face.
Was
And
it called-
to this day, I don't know why.
was it called Potato OS before or after discovering that bug?
Before.
Ah, it's a feature then.
Yeah, it was a feature. I showcased it in the presentation. And I got points off for it because they said you should showcase things that work rather than things that don't work.
No,
wow.
I love shit that's features that are just blatantly bugs. But nah, it's a feature now. That's my favorite form of developing.
Top 5 developers. EU.
Something, derail. It's not derailing if I'm getting back on topic, is it? I gotta stop feeling guilty about derailing. Something. I'm really good at segues because all I say is something. Scourge League's basically just ritual bases, but on crack, right?
No.
Yeah,
because ritual bases have like an upside and a downside, and there's only like 4 of them. But Scourge League is like, hey, that, but like every item.
And
we made
I also
it crazy powerful. Oh, go ahead.
You really only want to do it to stuff that's already like fully crafted. So it feels like another step up. It's not like power creep, but it's like my gear could normally not be improved any further, and now it can be. I
mean, there is the very bottom layer of the Scourge skill tree that one of them that we've seen so far, probably only good for maps. It's what is it like? 2% or 10% chance to add an explicit mod, or no, like a prefix or a suffix or something like that.
Yeah,
I could imagine idiots getting a really shit base and being like, time to Scourge this just in case I accident. Like, there's already like a thing on Reddit about people like, oh, make sure you Scourge your 5 links because you could 10% chance turn them into a 6 link or something, you know? Have you not seen that?
I just feel like I'm going to bypass that level of power quite quickly.
All I'm saying is I need a Scourged Chaos Orb so I can get talismans and then yeet it so I can actually craft a decent talisman.
No.
That's not allowed. That would be OP.
It wouldn't be. It's just chaos. It's just like picking up a talisman off the floor.
Talismans. Sit back down.
Talismans,
there is no such thing as a good talisman.
Still 100% convinced that talismans basically had to die so Headhunter would not be changed by the devs. Like, there was at one moment they talked to Chris and were like, you can either pick talismans or you can pick Headhunter. And he was like, I'm going to pick Headhunter for the people, but I want
every time there's a difficult decision that they know Chris isn't going to like, they're going to bring him that option. Listen here, Chris, we're going to have to change curses or we're going to delete Headhunter. So,
talismans were literally, like, I think they were perfect, like, 2 leagues ago. In their randomized, like, smart rolled sense, they still were never going to be, like, remotely top end. I mean, as far as you just wouldn't be, unless someone out there might have gotten a 6 tier 1 perfect and like all that type of shit. But like, realistically, they weren't going to be insane. It's just one of those things where I feel like this offended nobody and didn't make a big impact, so we had to kill it, which was like always a fun time to see.
I feel like I have absolutely no evidence to back this up, but I feel like in the future, Headhunter might get indirectly nerfed by changing the rare mods on mobs.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's before Path 2. I think they're going to update all like how many mods rare mobs have, or just reward it so they're not going to get as much value. Yeah, I think especially when they're implementing Mage Blood, it's like this is going to be kind of like not like a new thing, but doing things of similar ilk.
What if they bring in like the link skills onto rare mobs and make it work so when you steal one, you automatically trigger a link skill to your nearby party member, so it's an uncontrolled link skill because you stole it from a rare mob? I'd like that because then more party members would die, especially the carries.
You should tweet the Path of Exile account with that idea, Jim.
Okay.
See if it gets in.
I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
It's
I
my
think they
second
should
tweet
add
ever.
another Bloodlines mod that is similar to Shroudwalker, where Shroudwalker will just teleport you to an enemy and get you killed when you steal it with Headhunter.
Yeah.
I think they should add another one like that.
I wish they didn't, like, I'll say pussy out, but like, yeah, Bloodlines had such insane modifiers that people don't realize they even existed, that I still thought they should just bring back. Like, Thorns, Necrovigil, Phylacteral Link, all I thought were miserable to play against, and I kind of miss them still. I kind of want them to be back.
Phylacteral Link is on one mob in the game, and it's still too annoying.
It's pretty rough, yeah, but I like it. I like. I mean, that's if you want to have the game slow down. There's an artificial way to do it. Just make it so nothing could die in the entire area. Fun for the whole family.
Could you put like a really fast casting lightning warp on that link skill of your melee guy jumps in and when he hits something it casts a spell, and then you're an aura bot or something like that if they still exist, and then you could just hands-free game because anytime he jumps into a pack you instantly warp to him and stay within aura range?
I mean, that's like the equivalent of saying Castle Never's taken lightning warp on a build. You could do it,
but
there's
really.
This would target near your teammate instead of whatever hit you.
But if you're...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so you're an aura guy and you want to stay on your guy that's doing damage, and I mean the only downside would be if he doesn't find a mob in enough time before the link breaks or whatever.
That's where Wordflash comes in.
The links have a certain duration as well.
And if you're standing still, you might have to run off screen to find the next pack of mobs, and then the lightning warp won't be able to target that far.
I didn't know they had a duration. I should really read things.
Reading comprehension.
I haven't read the patch notes. Is it good? Patch notes good? I saw like 400 videos about them, but I haven't watched any.
I've pretty much been saying that like if you weren't playing Forbidden Right Totem, specifically next league, or not starting that, if you just played Path of Exile, you wouldn't notice a major difference aside from like the passive tree visually. Like I think that they're overall mostly like aren't really impactful or harmful for most things. It's like a pretty neutral set of changes overall.
In terms of like power level ups and nerfs?
Yeah, like nothing was
crazy.
Only one thing really was nuked. Like nothing else was. Nothing was gutted. Nothing was buffed.
What happened to SRS?
What didn't happen?
I haven't read it. Tell me what happened.
It just SRS
didn't like get directly targeted, but you can't really use Equilibrium with it anymore.
Yep,
which is freaking awful. That was a lot of its damage. On top of that, it's 100% converted to fire now, which makes it not viable with like hatred, which wasn't. I don't know if it was the best way to build it before, but there were some people building it that way, according to Rise, who plays it every now and again. Rise keeps trying to make it work, and it keeps not working, and then he's sad.
That's funny because
he's the biggest champion of it.
Like 3 years, Rise kept trying to play Spectral Shield Thrower. It's like shit, and then the one like he doesn't really play. It's like they make it the god tier skill out of nowhere. He was probably vilified just
before that league. And then
Spectral Shield Thrower?
Yeah.
I got a great deal of enjoyment out of the clip where he reads the patch notes where they accidentally made SRS cost more mana.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, they nerfed it? That was an excellent clip.
It happens. I didn't have any of those moments this patch where it's like, I can't believe they did XYZ. I was like, yep, this all makes...
there was nothing in the patch notes where I'm like, I can't believe they did that.
Actually, there was one thing, but it's such a like elitist type complaint. Not complaint, but like thing to be happy about is they buffed the synthesis map layout for Courthouse no longer exists. They made it Haunted Mansion, which was like that synthesis map took 10 times longer to clear than any other synth map. I mean, like if I'm chaining like 20 synth maps in a row, but like that map was miserable, and it's now gone. So I'm happy because of that one little change.
I'm really upset that they made incremental improvements to sound and art effects and environments. I can't believe they did that.
I love that it's in every patch note.
Yeah, well, I guess it has to be. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd never not do that.
We're still working on it.
I like how they still put patch notes to Battle Royale that I'm not reading.
Why not? You're going to play Battle Royale?
I mean, yeah, I'll be in Twitch Rivals again. I don't know if I'll try a top 8 again, I guess, but like...
What, behind rocks?
I'm not going to play the game for real, and they can't make me.
I love looking through the bugs fixed for stuff that I didn't know was broken.
Oh, yeah.
Like, fixed a bug where Curse Effect would increase the effect of vulnerability applied by Coward's Chain unique belt. I thought that was intentional.
Yeah, that seems intentional.
Or like,
but apparently not. So
Syndicate operatives doing damage. Like that was a bug.
You can build
apparently.
Coward's Chain and just go crazy with Curse Effect now.
I didn't think Syndicate operatives, all of their damage was just a bug that was just existing for 3 leagues, but I guess it was. They describe it as a bug effectively, but I thought it was just like, that's just how Syndicate operatives work.
I love the bugs that were like, Vol Flame Blast was critting 100% of the time and nobody noticed.
Because, yeah, like, why would you though? It's like, you know, it's just one of those things. One of those things.
Fixed a bug where Kitava's Thirst did not describe that mana used to trigger a skill could provide a chance to trigger socketed spells.
Cool.
So you could theoretically infinite loop if you had a triggered skill that cost 200 mana, and it would still run into the cooldown, but it made it easier to trigger it.
Yeah, I mean, digging through the bug fixes now. I didn't even read this one. Fixed a bug where Sunder could deal no damage to a target if you lost line of sight to them. I really enjoy New Sunder, and that pissed me the hell off when I would play it in maps like Cells or things like that.
So you would hit the ground, and it would travel, and then you would break line of sight, and then it would hit them, and it would do no damage.
Yes.
Speaking of
what,
sounds,
I don't
that
think-
still exists, right?
I don't-
Fuck yeah.
Maybe this was mentioned, but there was no mention of them having it so mirror and blink arrow clones don't get your Void Fletcher still, right? I didn't see that. Which I
They
can't
only
imagine.
thing with-
Void Fletcher.
No, that's not a
Void Fletcher, Control F, 0 result.
I was so sure that must be a unintended interaction because it seems like
It's technically a charge, and so if you share charges, and it specifically doesn't say Frenzy, Power, and Endurance charges, it says all charges. So because it's coded as a charge, it works.
kind of bananas like that still exists to a degree.
Nobody's used it enough. There's been a few broken
It's
builds
very
here and there that I've
specific.
seen, but it's never been meta
Well,
enough.
you
I
just
guess.
make the build where you just jump a bunch of clones and then everything gets one shot instantly. That's basically, that's how it works. But
It's really high investment, and it's really cool looking, and it's not like... I mean, for the level of investment, anything at that level is broken, right?
yes,
Unless
Yeah.
you're playing one of my builds or something.
yeah,
Aw.
to a degree.
Don't
This-
put
this
yourself
is my
down,
build.
man.
Big
Very
fucking
low.
sad.
When you require 8 unique items, there's not room for improvement.
What there will be with Scourge.
Yeah.
There will be with Scourge.
Hell yeah.
Hey!
That's what I like.
Something
In
segue.
two different ways. Yeah.
Everyone's already talked about like uniques and shit that are good for Scourge. Like, hey, you should fucking, bloody Malachi's Vision. It's a piece of shit. Shadow Stitch or something. Wait, that has downsides. You can Scourge talismans, I guess. Yay!
Can
they're-
you Scourge
they're
a Shadow
corrupted.
Stitch because it's already corrupted? I think you can.
Yeah,
Scourge
because you
corrupted
can
things. Yeah.
Scourge corrupted
Yeah,
stuff.
that's cool.
I mean, sure.
Appropriate reaction. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. You can
Next thing.
Scourge High Templar gloves and then use normal fusings on them instead of Scourged fusings. Wow.
You can always use normal fusings on them.
Yeah, no, that's the joke. Is
Yeah. Oh, well.
modifiable. Thank you.
Oh no,
Yeah, what?
I'm excluded.
Oh,
I didn't get the joke.
I'm sorry. Fucking
Like you.
fuck you. What's
Fix
the other
bug
thing?
where aspect
Temple
skills can
belts,
become
what are they called?
unreserved when changing areas
Thread-
with the
thread something?
Chainbreaker Timeless Jewel passive allocated. Yet another indictment of Chainbreaker.
I honestly don't.
It just
know
got
what
it got
you're
nerfed
saying
really big actually recently in this patch.
Yeah, it's after the nerf, I was like, "There's no reason for anyone to ever use this unless they're doing that very specific thing that it can still possibly do, but it's not very efficient."
What they do with Chainbreaker?
They removed the channeling
Everything
freeze.
costs rage. Everything costs rage.
Oh, yeah, that was
Activating
in
an
this
aura
patch, though,
costs
right?
rage. That was a while ago.
Well, no, they nerfed it this patch because of the cluster jewel. That made it so you would not have to spend rage when
Yeah.
cycloning, basically.
You can.
That was
It's
like
still. It's usable in General's Cry builds because
Sure,
the G Cry doesn't get the support gems from the links to the triggered attacks, so it only
But like,
stays
the
at
big
the
one was like
baseline free cost.
Fulcrum. Fulcrum Lost Chainbreaker, basically. Was
Yeah, Chainbreaker's in like
Bummer.
two builds now. I agree.
It's still really cool for certain things, like builds that don't really cast often, but big sad. I mean, it's like a hard. I truly understand it's a hard thing to balance because it's inherently like it's an absurd resource to just get capped for free. And it's like basically there's 3 different things that are all really good, but it's definitely a slippery slope if you were to like
I mean,
just give builds Chainbreaker.
Berserk is the problem. Like, Berserk is just an obscenely powerful buff. It's one of the single most powerful buffs in Path of Exile.
Yep.
So anything that gives you access to that has to play around to that power level. I wish that they had just like nerfed Berserk instead of nerfing
Well, they
Chainbreaker.
did a little bit, but not on.
Yeah, they
mostly
nerfed the all
quality.
quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which the all quality again was fucking disgusting. Like,
Yep.
again, Berserk is so strong. I would, if I could still use it in spellcasters, I would, even without the all quality. It's like it's a Quicksilver Flask and Fortify. You know, like it's
That stacks
mitigation
with
of
both.
speed.
Yeah, it's insane. It is pretty spicy.
I found a typo. Fixed a
Yay.
bug where the Void Ancestral War Chief would die when players walked out of range of it.
Well, I guess we're
Void
going to play.
Ancestral War Chief is a
Different game
microtransaction
now.
for Vol Ancestral War Chief.
You
Maybe it
better
only applies with the
uninstall
microtransaction.
Yeah, maybe only the microtransaction dies when you walk out of range.
Yeah, well, we need to rebuy it now. This is their empire. Game's ruined. Go play Last Epic instead.
Last what? Epic?
Epic.
That's how it's pronounced.
Is it?
Yep.
I always pronounce it epoch because, like, epoch is actually a term used in, like, computer science.
Sure.
Every date is measured in seconds since epoch, which is January 1st, 1970 at midnight.
Okay.
That's referred to as epoch. So when you start saying epic in conversation, people usually don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I don't talk to Philistines, so that's okay. The uneducated, uneducated gamer.
No, like even among software engineers, you're like, oh, when you mention epoch in conversation, if you say epic, people are like, what?
Yeah. No. I also measure in clicks. I'll use submarine terminology.
That's about 2 clicks away. I still don't know what that means.
That's not just submarines.
All the
it's
video
just
games.
submarines.
All the video games I've played where people use clicks as a unit of measurement, I still don't know what it means.
It's just submarines. That means 40 submarines with. I'm convinced.
No,
Hamster has some measurement.
it's just kilometers. It's just a quicker way to say kilometers, guys.
What?
That would make sense.
I
40 clicks
know
is just
Path of
kilometers.
Exile things.
Oh my god, you're killing me.
This is a
Here, let's
submarine
confuse them
podcast?
even further.
It's
When
not
people
a
say
submarine
Oscar Mike,
podcast.
Yeah.
when people say we're Oscar Mike, that means we're on the move. I don't know why. It takes the same number of syllables.
Because it's easy to I actually
It
know this.
confuses the enemy.
Because it's phonetic.
It's easy. No, it's easy to confuse, especially if you have poor microphone quality, which you might in that kind of situation. It's easy to confuse M
always.
for N. So you use Oscar as a signifier for O and Mike for M, and so
Because
people would
it would
say
be confused
OM.
with you saying, I'm on the Nuve. That's the confusion.
No, because people would say we're OM as a way of shortening it, and then that got confusing, and then you say we're Oscar Mike. That's I assume that's the case.
It's the phonetic
That's probably what
NATO
happened, because
alphabet.
I can vouch microphone quality for being very bad.
Yeah.
But
And then you tell them we're going 8 clicks that way. And then you meet up.
Not in the US.
maybe we should translate.
No, they still say clicks. That's the thing. They hate the fucking metric system, but they'll say
Oh,
clicks
yeah,
for
that's
kilometers.
true. That's true.
It's
The military
probably
does adopt the metric
100%
system.
designed just because the soldiers hate the metric system and they don't want to know that they're actually using it for all of their
You just gotta name
calculations
it
and all
something
of their
else.
science. They just call it something else.
Just
No,
got
it's
time
not
sent.
the metric system.
Jim hates
not-
soldiers confirmed.
In rocket science, we don't use grams, we use science weights. Oh, that'll be 3 science weights. Don't let them know we're using grams in our rocket science. Fucking.
It's not the metric system; it's the mic trick system. See, going back to the Oscar Mike.
Oh, no.
You have to find something that weighs exactly 1 gram and then use
Don't
that
gender
as
my
the unit of
systems.
measurement.
Yeah, they make
That's how
rockets
it
out
works.
of packets of sugar. They use like a 15-gram packet of sugar, and they just divide it by 15, and that's how they get their perfect gram. You just walk into Macca's, get a packet of sugar, done.
Yeah.
It's universal.
Walk into where?
Shut up.
Yeah, that's the
No,
problem.
tell me
You
where.
call it Macca's. You're
Macca's,
talking about America.
McDonald's.
Like McDonald's, or what is that?
Yeah. I saw a list of like all the different things people call it. You guys, fucking America's weird.
I
Oh, you
prefer
actually mean
McDonald's.
Yes, McDonald's, you fuck.
I was joking. I didn't know you actually picked serious. It was actually McDonald's.
Wait until you figure out what we call Burger King.
Royale with
Royale
cheese.
with cheese. Yeah.
It doesn't have
So, on
burger
the
or
same
king
wavelength.
in the title, so it's 100% confusing.
This is why it's over here, Jousis. We're synced up on the important things. Everything else
This is the only thing we're in sync on.
schismed. Yeah. Oh, look at patch notes again.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about the dot changes?
What happened? I haven't read them. I'm going to play a job.
That
That
was
was in a
Delirium.
manifesto.
Was
That
it
wasn't even patch notes.
That involves reading.
I think.
Yeah, people are saying that when you
50-50.
run elemental dot builds, and you used to be able to use elemental equilibrium, so they changed elemental equilibrium, and there is some compensation, but people are saying numerically it's not enough. And then on the live stream recently, Chris is like, "There's going to be enough."
And we're like, okay, we'll see it. We'll talk then.
Yeah, we'll see.
So everything's
But like,
better.
yeah, whatever the amount of damage the builds that used E that no longer have E have, despite like the ignite buff, is still probably, I think, less damage than 2 patches ago when Fireburst they had all the like multi and jewels and that sort of stuff. Like, it'll probably feel similar to that for the most part. But like, I still wouldn't play Fireburst because you don't have cold conduction, so you can't loop it in the same way. You could do it other ways, but it's like, to play a build like that, I kind of feel like you want to be a little lazy and kind of defeats the purpose. But I think things like Armageddon Brand will basically be the same, if not like a little bit better than last league, maybe.
Yeah, I think Armor Brand's going to be in a pretty darn good position because
Armor Brand Chieftain or like Elemental Sweep pretty spicy for a starter.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to be getting like 20, 30 million DPS out of it ever, but you can get like 3 or 4 million consistent at the top end, and that's enough to do bosses and have really nice smooth mapping.
I mean, even this league, I played Exsanguinate. Deadeye is like one of my starter builds, and I did Maven with like 500k single target, and it took about a half hour, but like, you know, it gets the job. All you need to do is get one, and then you get Everettes, and you're off to the races. So like,
she died, you didn't. That's what counts.
It was my last portal, and I had no flasks left. It was very.
She died, and you didn't 6 times.
Clenched. Yes.
I was
1 mil's enough, like for damage for most bosses.
I was very sad about Corrupting Fever. I finally got around to playing it in Expedition, and it being bad was part of the reason that I didn't make a video for that character. So essentially, you can't 6-link it because it costs 15,000 life, and you can't really get around that. So you 5-link it, and one of those 5 links is Empower, and that was 10x this league, so I didn't get one. So I had a 4-link, and it was in gloves, the Essence gloves that gave like 35% more damage over time or something. And so I had a 5-link Corrupting Fever, and that was all of my damage. And with the other requirements my build had, and I went all in on Cluster Jewels and everything, the freshly nerfed like 5% Fizz multi Cluster Jewels. At some point, it was actually more efficient to go for 12% increased Fizz over time instead of a 5% multi. So I started getting those, and I capped out at like 300k DPS. And it was just real sad.
Definitely I think I disagree with you on this because I feel like I played 2 builds to use Corrupting Corrupting Fever this league, and I only ever have to cast it once a map. If I'm
that was the whole point of my build, was I cast it once per map, and it was 100% of my damage. And I had automated cast and damage taken, and it would cast a Reap, which would cost like 500 life, so that it would refresh it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely haven't had that issue. Did not have that issue that you're having. Like,
the only issue that I'm having is that either you can't really 6-link it because it costs too much, or it literally costs 15,000.
15,000, you're saying? I don't.
Yeah, it costs 15,000 because if you tried to use what's it called? It had a 300% mana multiplier on it.
Oh, maybe you're using some fucky things that I didn't use.
The thing that you attack with, and it costs life, and then you get a buff.
Life tap.
Yeah, that.
Or cruelty.
That was the 6th thing that you had to link to Corrupting Fever.
I wouldn't do that.
So you got 15,000 cost.
Yeah, I mean, Corrupting Fever is definitely like a proven build, though. The Tornado Shot variation. I'm not sure what variation you were doing.
I was doing my own variation where I was so first and foremost, I had to completely circumvent all mana costs, which is an ordeal by itself. So what I did was I had Scold's Bridle, so it would deal me 400% of the mana cost as damage, and then I got, with the Keystone, precisely 50% damage reduction for physical damage, so that's double the mana cost, and then I had 50% mana recoup, so I would gain 100% of the mana cost as mana over 4 seconds, was the way that build worked. So by the time I had that all set up, and I spent the rest of my points on making Corrupting Fever do more damage, it was still pathetic.
Yeah,
even though I was vomiting spells all over the screen that instantly gave everything on the screen 10 Corrupting Blood stacks, so it was really good quality of life, and I was just cycloning and mashing Frostblink through the map. Didn't do enough damage. It was very painful. It took me 20 minutes to kill Drox.
That is man living in self-imposed convolution.
Yeah, I'm like, He doesn't actually play the game. He just does whatever the fuck he wants. And I'm so proud of you as a human.
It is playing the game.
No, I mean, like,
the beauty of path. It's a sandbox.
Yeah, you can do what the fuck you want. I'm so glad you're not one of those people that, like, if I'm not crushing Endgame, I'm having a bad time, you know? Like, fucking play how you want.
Yeah, usually I'm okay with, like, this build is obviously suboptimal, but I'm still having fun playing the build. This one was actually so little damage that at some point I stopped having fun.
Oh, well, that's...
Yeah,
like, I was at the end of my investment. I could have spent 100 exalts, and I would have improved one item. And I guess I could have gotten Empower 4, but that would only give me like 20k DPS.
Now imagine if that build worked last league, and then someone played a different build that was so strong, and then they nerfed that, and then yours died by, like, shockwave. That's how, like, every single person that's ever been wronged feels when their builds die, because it's usually not their shitty niche build that gets destroyed.
That's sort of what happened to me, because the league that I decided to start playing Corrupting Fever was when everything around it got nerfed.
Why? That's when you stop.
Happens.
I was busy with something else when it came out, right? So I was like, I'll get to that next league.
Yeah, that's
and the next league happened.
We've all done that. Played a build too late. I kind of get that feel. I try to now be really active. Like I played 11 builds this league. I try to be as active as I can, trying to play anything I think is on the chopping block because I don't want to have like, I don't want to not be able to do it ever again. Because there is some times where ever again is currently still happening. Like to the extent of like Winter Orb, since its massive nerf, can be replicated at very high investment, but like not nearly. It's a totally different build now. Like. You kind of missed if you didn't do it, then you missed a window. I feel like that's definitely the case with Forbidden Right Totems now, is if you didn't play it this league, it's probably not going to happen in the next 4 or 5 years. Like, it's definitely possible. So I kind of get that, not to say fear of missing out, but like I just want to grasp the opportunity to experience it while I can, which is kind of, it was interesting. Like, I remember Chris said something during the Q&A afterwards about, like, they purposely don't make high-end content, not like unlimitedly accessible, but like accessible in a common fashion, and then like skew the drop rates lower because they want you to have the things feel more impactful. I might be butchering how he's saying this, but anyone know what I'm talking about when he was saying like to maybe increase the drop rates respondents of the higher tier content? Yeah.
Is it the Maelstrom story that he likes to tell? Where
yes, it was the Maelstrom story.
Initially had the Endgame, and people would just, because there was no cost on doing the most difficult content, people would jump to that, not be able to do it, get mad, and then stop playing. And they put a cost on doing it, and then people enjoyed it more.
That's another example of where, like, that's like maybe something that was proposed in the problem solution format that I just felt like was never a problem. Like, and it's even like I played when Maelstrom was a thing, and even though when Maelstrom was openly accessible, it's not that I didn't find it rewarding, or like I wouldn't do it because at times it wasn't the most beneficial thing. Like running Fellshrine Ruin 6-party chest opening was the more beneficial thing, or other things were more beneficial at the time. So I don't feel like that's really ever the case. Like if I had unlimited access to Uber Blights effectively, it doesn't mean I'd sit all day doing Uber Blight, or I feel like I would do it less. I would just do it whenever I want to do it, and I don't think that would change. I guess it's hard to say. I mean, you can't know because it's not the case.
I was of the mindset of I'll play a build once it's balanced, but once I realized that they don't balance things, they destroy things. It took me a while to learn that, but they tend not to balance. They tend to decimate. Oh, that's too kind of a word. Decimate. That's only like 10%. Like they utterly. 10%. I never played Winter Orb, and I am that person who's like, wow, that's a really broken build. I'll play it next league, and then it doesn't survive. So fuck that. My new motto is play one build for 4 weeks, wait for the meta to be discovered. Sure, there's the week 1 meta who cares? There's week 2 meta, no one gives a shit. There's the 1 month and a half meta that 40% of people are playing. I will happily grind the 100x you need to get the good gear for it, and I will play that broken piece of shit so I can actually enjoy endgame content. Because I've got the time and I'm patient for it, and then when they destroy it, like they did, fucking Forbidden Right Rest. Props to them. They didn't kill totems. I'm so proud of them for fucking up Forbidden Right, but not fucking up everything else. That's amazing. It's the one time... My finger's blurry. It's the one time where I could have waited, but I'm done waiting. Fuck it. Whatever's meta in a month from now, I'm playing. And I'm gonna love it.
That's been the case for a lot of times. This time, I don't think it was the case for everything except for Forbidden Rights. Like, Spectral Shield Throw's numbers probably got cut by somewhere like 20 to 30% damage, but the mechanics are effectively the same, so it should operate, honestly, okay. Especially the bleed variation really wasn't touched that much, like, overall. I think it would still be probably better than a lot of other bleed builds. But, yeah, like, tactful nerfs aren't really their forte, and it kind of does create, like, a fear of missing out. If I don't, capitalize on this, then I won't have a chance to do it again, and then I feel like I'm now pigeonholed into playing a build because I feel like I'm missing out, and then maybe that's impacting your game experience. But that's just going to happen anyway because of Path of Exile. Like, you're never going to... Like, the player who's playing an hour a day is not going to use all of their master missions. There's just not enough time. So you're going to be missing out on something. That's just kind of like a mindset you have to shake in a way, because otherwise you're just going to be perma-sad playing Path. Like, you can't use all of your currency in a league. You can't use all of your resources. It's never going to happen. Even if you go like liquid all the time on all your currency, you're just still going to have shit to do, and you'll never have enough time to do it.
Yeah, and
That's life.
by design. The game wants to keep you coming back to use the shiny new thing you got, or chase that new bit of endgame you didn't quite reach, which is great with the super duper endgame that they're adding. Yay.
Yeah, I much prefer continue to add more content as opposed to restrict access to existing content.
So you're saying you're against Kadira getting deleted?
I don't really care if he's gone as long as
I don't think Parandus counts as content.
I never once got something good from Parandus. Although there was the one time where there was an end league challenge where it was like, open 50 Parandus chests, and I got like a 7 league step out of a chest or something. That was the one time that Parandus was good for me, and now those are going to be those uniques will still exist. It's just Parandus won't. So nothing of value was lost.
I feel like I derailed your thought process there, Octavian. I only heard the one part where I could make a joke.
It's okay.
What were you saying
about it?
No,
I was just going to say that my one concern, as always it is with adding the next tier of uber-duber content, is that you will eventually reach the point where it becomes something that players feel they need to accomplish and eventually maybe are entitled to accomplishing. Like for me, the last big one there was Feared, and I have referred in a number of podcasts to Feared as optional content, and I've gotten pushback on that a number of times from commenters and stuff. Because in my mind, Feared is... You guys ever watch that YouTube video from like the early 2000s by Neil Cicerega where it was the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny, where he's just singing about how like Batman was fighting Superman, was fighting John Wayne, was fighting...
I was singing that last night, but yes.
That's what fucking Feared feels like to me. It's just a kid taking all their action figures and putting them together and going, wouldn't it be really cool if you could fight fucking Elder and Shaper and Adziri and Cortex and Q all at the same time? And like in my mind, that's not core content. That's all of the most dangerous endgame bosses in Path of Exile in a room at once. How can you say that every build needs to be able to do that? Clearly, not every build will be able to do that, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's just the fact that like Echoes is being part of Echoes is locked by it, I think, is what feels a little bad, I guess, for somebody.
I'm
a living counterexample.
Yeah,
none of my builds can
You're not
ever
every
do Feared.
build. Well, that's good.
The difference is, I think it's not like a unique that's gated. It's access to the end game that's gated behind it. To me, that's the problem, I would say.
I would prefer if they tweaked up the drop rates of some of the really powerful boss uniques to make it, appropriately rewarding to do Feared, and move the passive points to some other accomplishment somewhere else in the game. I don't know.
Even if it's just like doing Uber at 0 gets you 1 Uncharted point, and then doing Cortex gets you 1 Uncharted point. Like something more accessible, because as it stands now, like the only reason I do Feared is not for the, like you're saying, it's not for the drop. I don't do it for the drops. Yeah. I do it to unlock it, and I don't touch it again because it's not really rewarding, considering the effort to put into it. Like I'd rather not do all the prerequisites and not do the Feared once I have it unlocked.
Would you rather it be something you can grind towards? Like do 100 of a thing and you slowly get it unlocked?
Realistically, everything in Path is better when it's deterministically accessible. Like,
but this is deterministically accessible.
I'd rather do like stepping stones and giant leaps.
But it's not giant leaps because it starts off with something simple, and then if you want the whole tree unlocked, do the hard thing. But you can get 80% of it and manage without.
But I think again, it comes back to like, if to do that content, like Octavian was saying, not all builds can do it. So now I feel like I'm forcing myself to play would be a week 4 meta build, such as like Forbidden Right. Like I feel like I have to play this now so I can access the content, so I can finally unlock the Atlas, and now I can play the game. Like it reminds me of like South Park, where it's like, oh, what do we do now? Now we can actually enjoy ourselves. Like, I want to get everything base unlocked, and now I could play Path. I just want to map mindlessly. Like,
to be fair, that South Park episode was kind of meant to be a parody of that mindset. Like, you don't need those last 2 Maven points for the Atlas to be rewarding.
And for me, it's not an issue. Like, none of this is an issue for me because of the amount of time I play. But I totally can, like, simpatico with someone who's like, he has like it's not as much as like saying, oh, he has this, I want this. It's like, oh, everyone can have this. Like this is up to be accessed. I just don't have either. I'm not good enough, or my build isn't good enough, or I can't do it.
It's the
and that kind of what makes me feel worse. Like
toolbox fallacy, which is I can't do something until I have this. It's like I can't play the endgame until I have my perfect Magic Find character. I can't do maps until I've rolled 100 of them.
Feared, it's kind of true because you can't do the feared. I'm not going down the gauntlet of like, but you can't do the feared with like Fire Trap really. Like there's certain things like you just. Like
you can't
you don't have
with
to.
Fire Trap.
All right, well,
there's a specific way to build Fire Trap that does so much damage.
Of all the fucking skills I pulled out of my ass, I had to like.
No, I don't. I shouldn't nitpick. You're absolutely right. There are some skills that do not scale to feared viable, and that list gets smaller if you say Soul Self-Found, and it gets even smaller if you say.
And then, like to that, I don't want to respond when someone like. Not to put myself in the position, but like someone asks me, like, so what do I do then? And my response is just play a better build or just be better.
Just
There's not much past that really that you can do.
Okay, but to springboard off of this discussion, because initially what I wanted to talk about was the new uber duper endgame stuff, which I need a better phrase to describe.
I said also, you're fine.
Is Endgame. Go ahead.
Is it then fine? Like, what is the content that it's fine if there's builds that can't do it? Is it fine that there's builds that can't do Wave 30 Simulacrum? Is it fine?
I think it's fine because it doesn't affect mapping. That's the difference. For
Is it fine that Uber Breach drops from Deformed and not anywhere else?
From hidden, but
hidden, formed, whatever.
I think that's fine because again, none of this affects mapping. If I'm running a tier 1 map, I want my mapping experience to be affected by like what I have unlocked, and nothing in Simulacrum is going to make me my tier 1 map any better just because I've had a rough day. I want to do like chill maps, and then that's not going to be affected by it. Like I think if it affects mapping, it should be realistically accessible by someone who's playing maybe like a mom and pop build. Like
that's understandable.
That's the one caveat I would say.
But at the same time,
I tend to agree. Maps are probably the place where every build should be able to do the content. Yeah. Like I'm pretty
maps
sure
are sacred.
It's possible. It's possible to do a tier 16 map with Conversion Trap if you really wanted to. You could do it. Now,
that doesn't exist.
Literally, no.
That skill isn't real.
You convert worms. But, I mean, if it affects mapping, it affects my access to what I can do in mapping or, like, the potential of how my maps can be in a realistic fashion. I think it shouldn't be, like, gated behind. So, like, even like, to push another example as far as the feared isn't just accessed by builds. I got my first Cortex to drop 3 days ago. In Expedition.
Ever?
Congratulations.
And I've found 2 Cortexes from Zana, but Maven doesn't witness Zana, so it doesn't work then. So, like, it kind of just feels really fucking bad when some things, like, you can't even really... Like, do you know what the best way to get Cortex is in Solo Southbound? It's just running tier 14s right to the boss and leaving. Doing one every 30 seconds. Not doing anything else in the map. Like, that kind of feels bad. It's not even just about of, like, this is the best method of efficacy, and this is how I'm choosing to go about it. Like, there's nothing you can do to get sense maps. So to get something behind, like, that level of RNG... And then I can't fully access the Atlas, the endgame, because of it. It feels like it's less of like, this is my progression through the extended acts, you know? Like, I feel like the way that they frame it, at least, is, I've got to maps now. Now it's like I'm in, the end game, and I get to get my Watchstones, I get to do my Mavens, and then I could just, like, relax and map. But
would you
I
say
can't because I don't have Cortex.
The favorite system works the same way? Because for you to finally get what map you want to run, you have to have done everything else and unlock everything for the favorite system? Does that make sense?
Except that, I mean, doing the specific map you want to do, I think, is a luxury if it's only running it versus just being able to map. Like, the luxury is, like, I get to do, like, nothing but strands. The difference is you could do infinite red maps effectively. It just might not be the one you like, my favorite map. Like, maybe it's like, oh, look, a strand drop. I get to run strand. That's exciting. And then eventually it's like, oh, mostly strands are dropping. That's even more exciting. But I think that's, like, that's like a level of privilege to have to get to run your favorite map versus just being able to map. Like, being able to map should be like an innate right, kind of.
Would it then be fine to swap the rewards? You unlock
100%.
You unlock the 2 passive points for a region by doing a bunch of the maps in the region, and you get favorites by doing the Maven rewards. I think
that would make much more sense. Yeah, you could even do it it's kind of like how Oshabi works. Like, once you kill Oshabi, you get more room. Like, you could use Harvest to its really fullest extent with 10 slots effectively, even in Solo Self-Found. You benefit from what crafts you get. You do your side projects, yada yada. But it gets a little juicier if I kill Oshabi. Like, it's kind of the same way with mapping. It's like, oh, I get to do maps. I get to, run my maps I like because I'm in, focusing on those regions. It's like, oh, I get a little bit more juice out of the favorite system. It's not like I have gated access. It's just...
It does make sense that it seems like it's around the wrong way. Like, you do your random map rewards and your random mavens, and then you get, like, RNG loot, and then there's an extra one for that RNG loot that is the Maven invitations, and then that unlocks a skill point which benefits your normal mapping experience. It seems like it should be around the other way, where the endgame RNG boss, maybe if they had like more uniques or something that could drop from the formed, the hidden and stuff, and then make that the reward instead of a skill point that just benefits your casual experience. Because even your reward for your big your reward for your big endgame boss fight is something that casuals would want, instead of something that people that are farming big endgame boss fights would want. So the motivation is only there for the casual people, and the casual people can't do it. I mean, sure, it's an endgame goal they can have and set their mind towards, and it keeps people coming back, but it doesn't necessarily feel good.
You can always make the first round can be deterministic in the fact that, like, if I do one of each Breach Lord, it guarantee drops an invitation, and I can do that fight. But that's not the case, because I've done 30 Breach Lords at the beginning of the league and not had a feared, or whatever it's called, to drop. So you could do it so it's like, oh, you do the 4, then you get the piece to the puzzle, then you unlock the thing. And after that, it's all kind of, like, random for more farmability. But as long as there's, like not even have to be like, I don't want you to hold my hand. I just want there to be, like, a framework in place where there's, like, some sort of clear path to progression.
I don't even mean the spawning. I just mean, like, the whole point of casual people, like, can't even kill it. And so the reward that you get for it is specifically aimed at casual people. I mean, everyone wants Maven points, sure. But how else would you motivate people that aren't motivated to do endgame bosses to at least try it? Because how would they know if they like something if they don't try it? And so if there isn't something there for them to want that they could use, like Maven points, why would they even bother?
Hard to say, because sometimes they don't even have the option of trying it. That's I guess, the problem to a degree also. You might not know you like it because you can't even try it if you wanted to. But again, that's only really a strict problem for solo self-found.
It's like that guy who kills Cyrus, attempts Cyrus once every league because his playtime is so low. And he gets to this point, like a couple days ago, he's like, I finally attempted Cyrus in Expedition, I still failed.
To be fair, though, that's also him not being good enough at the game to a degree, because
yeah, but that's the same logic of people that can't get the last Maven skill points, is they're just not good enough, so get good.
Except the difference there is that with Watchstones, there's a definitive progression, and with dropping Cortex, there isn't. Yeah, I could play an hour a day, and I could, almost to the day on the mark, after 2 weeks, I'll be able to get to Cirrus. Even in the previous system.
But if you're in a trade league, what everything's balanced around, you're playing SSF, you're specifically signing up. That's like someone playing hard mode SSF or whatever. You're signing up for that pain. It's balanced around trade. The whole point is you can go do the content that you like. You still have to go do this Maven fight. Oh, well, I've been in Delve for 7 hours. Here's some money. I'm going to buy a Cortex and I'm going to attempt it. Because that's how the economy works.
For sure. I'm more saying just if you, like, gun to my head, you gave me 2 weeks and said get a Cortex, I couldn't promise it. But I could promise you I could finish 40 Watchstones. Well, that's my point, is that there's the only system of the endgame is locked behind RNG is this one real one. Everything else is basically farmable. So you can work towards it.
You've got a solution. I don't know how much it costs. $1,000, $10,000. Just buy a div card, my dude.
You can't anymore.
Why not? Just message him, man.
I have. They said no.
Slide into them DMs. They probably know you. They know you by name.
He's like, nope. Yeah, but still, like, we don't have secret access.
The email came in. No, you got the opposite of secret access. The email came in. They're like, oh, this has been flagged in our system. They look to the right. It's like, do not deal with this man. It's just a picture of your face on the wall. It's like, I'm sorry, we don't sell those anymore. What a pity.
Okay. Speaking of Jim, we have this week we're doing another charity event.
Again, I only just cut my hair. It's not long enough yet.
You could shave whatever else you want. I mean, that's up to you.
Who says I haven't already?
Oh boy. Hubba.
Again?
Charitable
really?
man.
Okay. Charity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
At $10,000, Slippery Jim will shave his eyebrows.
Yep.
Fuck that.
Replace them with real caterpillars.
I don't know what to do.
I think if we get to 10 grand, you should go try to eat a huntsman spider in the wild.
Fuck that. Those things are terrifying.
Yeah, go track and eat a huntsman.
Poisonous?
They are.
Yeah, but they're venomous. I don't think they're not poisonous. As in, you can. They're not toxic.
Just make sure you don't have wounds in your digestive system.
Yeah,
and then you can eat one.
It's about catching.
Pop out the fangs.
No, I don't want to.
Jim, don't eat spiders.
No shit. Don't eat any. Don't
you
leave them alone.
Tell you
They're
what you can and can't do.
Just leave them alone.
You can eat spiders if you want to.
What?
Why are you eating so many spiders?
I'm not eating spiders.
Just dozens.
Already pouring a brimming
really
cup
just
of spiders.
Bowls full of spiders. This is how coronavirus started, probably.
The average person eats 3 spiders a year in their sleep.
That's
and then someone was
Jim.
like, that's actually far too low of an estimate because spiders really like warm, damp places.
No one eats spiders, but there's one guy really high on the spectrum because that's how averages work.
Yes.
Some guy's just fucking shoveling them down.
Yeah.
Spiders
Funnily enough,
eats
though,
1 billion spiders a year. He is an outlier and should not be counted.
Exactly. No, I don't believe that
casual
statistic.
spider eater.
But there was a giant fucking huntsman in my sister's bed, and she had I didn't eat it. Fuck off. She rolled over in her sleep and squashed it, and it's just a giant dead huntsman in her bed. It was terrifying.
I mean, 1, why were you in your sister's bed? 2,
it was the morning, and we sleep in the lounge room because we are poor. There's a mattress in front of the TV, man. It's prime life. You gotta try it.
I think next charity event should be for you, honestly, at this point. Eats spiders, sleeps in cardboard.
Dude,
What goes on?
legitimately, someone asked me, hey Jim, what's going to be your cosplay to start a league? I have nothing planned, but I do have like 15 cardboard boxes I might just deck out. You know? That seems pretty... It makes there's no context and there's no reason to do it, aside from the fact that I have them. So I'm not poor, I've got cardboard boxes.
Yeah. He's rich in spirit.
Yep.
Draw whatever cosplay you want on the cardboard boxes.
Oh shit, I didn't even think of that. That's awesome. And
You could start writing the patch notes, and you can just say your patch notes. Like write down the patch notes on your chest.
Just write them
This is
down
the
by
same
hand.
level of effort as quarterback for Halloween.
Yeah. Just like duct tape, like print out and duct tape all the patch notes. And
We don't have quarters.
All right, well, same.
So what's the theme of the charity thing this time?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever you want. Just pick a charity.
You do all the work.
Spiders.
I just slap my name on it.
Spiders for America. There we go.
Oh fuck yeah!
You have
Every
Smarties
child in
Australia?
America needs a spider, and I will ship them one.
That's our mission. Give each man, woman, and child 1 spider.
There are millions going hungry across the globe, and we intend to give all of them spiders.
We're like Santa. We
When
break
they're
in at night and just put spiders down their throats.
You can give us money to accomplish this, but even if you don't, we will still accomplish this.
Yep.
You can
This
only
is
you can only hasten this process. You cannot stop
You
it.
can pay to opt out of a free spider.
Dark.
This is like the advertisement, this woman will put bees in your home. Is
Oh,
there
no.
a way to make her stop?
You pay her.
Yeah.
Pay her, she stops the
You
bees.
pay her if you won't put bees in your home. Now that's an effective advertisement.
Extortion charity.
Yep.
My father did pay to have bees put in his home because he's taking up
Apiary.
beekeeping.
Oh, wow.
In the house, not like in the backyard.
Just a cupboard full
Generous
of honey.
definition of home.
Loosely
So in
on
the backyard,
property.
yes. On the
Yeah.
property. My dad's a weird guy. He
My dad's
fixes
a
up
bee.
houses and stuff for a living. Thank you. He fixes up houses and stuff for a living. And we don't talk all that much, but he occasionally just sends me a text out of the blue with no context. And he was repairing an old house up in northeastern Mass, and he sent me a text of just a picture of a tub halfway through a doorway, and the caption just said, "Tub goes outside." And that was it. He didn't say anything else after that. I said, like, "Hey, Dad," and he didn't respond after
Hell
that.
yeah.
He didn't say shit for like another 3 days. It was just
I
"Tub
think-
goes outside."
That's the person
It's
I aspire to be.
self-explanatory.
Yeah. When your dad texts, does he use dots instead of spaces by chance?
Sometimes, yes. He also, every message I send him, he reacts to, because on his little Android phone, he has the ability to do like an emote. So he'll like every single message, which honestly, it gives me the warm fuzzies. When
It's
I
better
see
than
every
just
time
being
my dad
seen.
liked my
Every
message.
time my dad texts me, he puts dots instead of space and always comes off as passive aggressive. He's like, if you want ... I'm like, what? Is this, are you being real or what is it?
Wait
He
a
just
second.
doesn't
You guys
threaten
have
to lift
dads?
Oh.
Oh,
I got bees
poor
outside though. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Derailed.
All for a pack of
Derailed.
smokes.
Uh,
What was
Truly,
everyone's
you know.
favorite change from Patch Hunter thing as introduced?
Oh shit, let me read patch notes real quick.
Just
Other
bounce
than
when it's
Stasis
whatever.
Prison,
Yes,
it's not in the
yours.
patch notes.
True. Well, just new thing.
What amuses me is there was a bug where magic and rare monsters in area level 85 plus had half the life they were supposed to. That's a very funny bug.
That was making expeditions that Danig would sell to you a lot easier. I'm a little spooked to think that they probably would have killed me a lot if that bug hadn't been there.
Well, they're no longer to be the case anymore, so it's a moot point, I guess.
Glacial Hammer no longer has a 15% damage penalty against players. This is the buff that I was waiting for. Glacial Hammer build incoming. Hall of Grandmasters viable.
Legally.
I'm a big fan of the Spectre nerf. The single Spectre. Not the Spectre gem, just the Syndicate operatives. I'm really a big fan of them getting
got buffed, actually.
Yeah.
But, Awakened Gems buff was massive. Very surprised, honestly, about
I forgot about
buff
that.
across the board. So huge for so many builds. Some things just gained 2-3 gem levels out of nowhere, and then just crush and intimidate, exposure. Any Ellie attack build just has reflective immunity now, which is cool. Sure, that's random as fuck, but I'll take it. So it's there's a lot of stuff that I think that's honestly the unsung hero of the buffs was the Awakened Gems. Granted, it's a little bit bougie, but and there's a lot of Trade League builds that will run 4 Awakened Gems, and they all just got massively better. Some of them just got, I say minor damage. It's 4 to 5% more damage, but some of them just gained gem levels out of nowhere. Some of them gained on hit effects that are exclusive, getting crushes hard to get. Exposures. So there's a lot of things like that that are really, really strong for those gems.
Trying to think of one thing that I would hone in on. I really it's a pretty small thing, but I really like the addition of Tornado. I think it's an incredibly cool design of a skill, and it's going to have a lot of use.
I'm absolutely going to use it.
You can play Twister Tornado, because Twisters are projectiles. So you can play Shako or Twister Tornado. I mean, it's going to be shit.
Twister Tornado build.
Yeah, fuck it.
I hope it's slow. I hope it stays in one spot.
It's definitely slow.
Yeah, that's good though, because I place it on top of 4 active cremations and get another 10% damage.
Yeah. I kind of was hoping it was more of a spell slinger edition, but it definitely seems like it's more of a... Yeah, it seems like it's more of a Hydrosphere, I'm going to dump it on a rare or a boss, and this is going to give me a huge chunk of single, which is totally fine.
Why not
it's effectively making a lot of builds. It's kind of like what Hydrosphere does, which I'm very surprised wasn't nerfed on a tangent, but things like that just, are effectively make clear builds have 2-stage skills for a single target. To basically
I want to think Hydrosphere wasn't nerfed because of that one clip where someone's trying to chain hook a Hydrosphere and they chain hook their worm and it pulls them 1 foot into... Yeah, 1 foot into the memory game.
That
was so sad.
There were 2 people that were able to kill Maven and Gauntlet in this last Gauntlet, and Karn was so close to being the 3rd. So close. He had it. His build was strong enough. He was going to kill Maven and Solus Alpha in fucking Gauntlet with an Onigoroshi build. My god.
All 8 of his damage. Yeah, watching the Gauntlet builds is brutal.
So I think that may have rescued Hydrosphere.
I mean, the kind of forever meme is that every league they do tend to look at Gauntlet or private leagues or the last week of Reddit and just pick what gets nerfed and what gets saved. But I'm really surprised that Hydrosphere and Sniper's Mark were not touched. That blew my mind kind of.
Oh, Sniper's Mark is insane.
Sniper's Mark is degenerately good.
The 75% increased mark effectiveness on Deadeye with Sniper's Mark, strong. Insane.
And they buffed Sniper's Mark also, because it was previously molesting your mana pool if you were to hit the same rare multiple times. And now it only triggers once and then refreshes when it drops off, versus constant application. So if you have snipers on hit ringer, or through a method or somehow you have snipers on hit. Previously, if you hit a rare, if you hit it multiple times, it would just keep reapplying and it would eat your mana up. But now it just puts it on and doesn't keep eating your mana up, which is super nice. I was kind of surprised there was no movement skill changes a little bit.
I think people were already mad enough, in the Gauntlet, about all the movement skill changes that already happened. I think they didn't need to nerf it even more. Yeah, Darky is specifically
that was
had a lot to say. And there's all these posts about, I can't do Cirrus because I use Leap Slam.
That's just. I mean, I don't think it's required. I'm just surprised it was. Personally, I've never had an issue with it. I didn't have an issue even after the change. I'm surprised it didn't get buffed because of the overall people complaint. I feel like that was the final complaint after they rectified mana changes a little bit after they rectified the ailment immunity from flasks. That was the last thing that was nerfed and wasn't really buffed. And I'm so surprised it wasn't they didn't cave on that kind of.
They also didn't they're adding powerful uniques and they're changing the passage a bunch. So, and then they also changed ignite scaling. So there's a lot of places where damage is shifting, but they didn't go back and revert the damage changes to support gems and stuff. I guess outside of woke gems. So
that's kind of I'm sure you could probably. It might be back to that baseline after the awakened gems and masteries. It could be closer, better to that.
We just don't know what the masteries are. Bex did tweet a little bit ago saying that if people praise Kuduku enough, there's a chance that the masteries get released today. So
Kuduku instead of Toucan, promoting heresy.
Yeah. Why not Katava? It's Corruption League. Also, Lighty, are you playing RuneScape?
I am right now, yes.
I can hear it. I heard it when your mic keying in because you're just spamming your clicking. I'm like, there's no way he's playing PoE. He must be fucking crafting in RuneScape or something.
I need cakes.
That makes sense.
There's never not a moment when I'm on my computer and not playing at least 3 games at once. That's just a fact.
Multitasking.
Always, even during stream. Yeah.
I have 17 tabs of idle games open.
Good.
RuneScape in particular was so exhausting for me because everything required just insane mouse precision.
It's
most of it you can sit there and AFK, but a lot of it it's all clicking.
Yep. There's less effective. Just like in Path, there's less effective routes that become more AFK, and they are benefited by quality of life and then just the chill factor. But there's always going to be some more efficient method that grants you more damage or more whatever. It's no different than playing 2-stage skills in Path. All the times playing 2-stage skills is strictly better damage. Case in point, Cremation Archmage, which Darky used a couple leagues ago. But boy, oh boy, there's a lot of fucking buttons, to do these certain things.
Do people complain about their wrists in RuneScape?
People complain, full stop.
Okay.
Just doesn't really...
I saw a meme, it was something
Peggle doesn't matter.
They can't take away our crabs or something. I don't understand the RuneScape community.
Yeah, maybe just one guy with an STD, but aside from that, it's all fine.
Okay.
Here, this should give you some insight into my character. I played a lot of RuneScape. I mostly played minigames and stuff, so I had 1,800 total or something, and no skill capes. I never had the patience for any skill capes. I had 98 strength, and that was the closest I got.
And I had a maxed Iron Man, with completion escape almost. So
yeah, that tracks.
The dichotomy continues. But to be fair, I just started group Iron Man.
I didn't even make it to Cirrus this league.
You're that guy. You're that one guy.
I was I got all the footage I need, now I'll work on the video, and then I work on a song for 2 months and I don't finish it, and I'm
valid.
This time I will stagger my schedule so that instead of last time, I got the video out 1 day before the next league started, when it was already completely irrelevant and 80% nerfed. This time I'm okay, I'll have the song ready beforehand, and then I'll upload it as soon as possible, and then disappear for 2 months and make another song.
Valid. Unrelated, totally. They buffed this patch Concoction, added a new Concoction, buffed a couple things like Absolution a little bit. They buffed it pretty heavily during League. Really fucking surprised they didn't buff Reaper, but the reason I think I'm surprised is because I don't think they know what to do, because it's a bit of an anomalous scenario. There's never been a build that requires 1 minion, and the game isn't balanced around any of the scaling being based off of 1 minion, so nothing kind of adds up.
Well, we got link skills now, or at least optionally link.
Sure, but the benchmark for a minion build is effectively if I could walk, not movement skill, but if I could walk across the screen, everything should be effectively dead by the time I get from point A to point B. And if your minion build isn't doing that, it's really not doing its job for an automated system minion build. And Reaper 100% does not do that at the moment, or come close to that.
From what I've seen of Reaper builds, they're a little more bossing oriented.
They have a ton of single target, and there's ways to Ghetto used them previously with Arcanist brand, and then you could use Steel skills, and like it all just seems like you're kind of not doing it for its. I mean, that could have been their intended purpose, but not as described. At least, like I don't think when they announced Reaper, people were going to be using Arcanist brand Steel skills to like make it have shit tier clear from like impossible clear to shit tier clear. Like it feels pretty rough. So I'm just surprised like that wasn't touched. But I guess it's kind of like the ultimatum situation where maybe like we don't know how to fully implement a better version or a change, so we're just gonna like keep it on the DL for now.
Make it an RL and give it a synthesis ring.
Yeah.
I liked there was that brief period of time. I think it was the patch that Herald of Purity came out, and everyone ran like a minion guardian that league or something. So the way that it worked was they built the character for clear speed and they built the minions for single target. And I feel like that's the way to go with Reaper, but I'm not sure how to go about that.
It doesn't survive. I mean, you know what? Like, I'm gonna say they're out of touch with this, but like in this specific scenario. It launched, and within 6 hours, they doubled its health and res.
Like I knew that Reaper was going to be bad from reading.
I'm not sure how that got. And I league started. I'm not sure how the fuck that got through, but like, and then they buffed it again, like quintupled its bleed damage. So it just, I don't think
I saw
it's
a single minion, and I was like, bleed?
Yeah, it's it still has like the effective damage of like having like 2.5 Kara golems and half the clear. But it's so cool, and I thought that like it kind of reminded me of the tornado thing where they have the verbiage on it where it's like you can have a maximum number of one. Then my first thought is, does that mean we can possibly have more than just one eventually? Is there room to get a maximum number of two? I'd love to see 2 or 3 tornadoes or 2 or 3 reapers, but then they start eating each other. I don't know. So it's just
I feel like 2 or 3 reapers
cool.
it contradicts the philosophy of the skill, so I feel like that's not going to happen. But that might be the only way to fix it.
You can just give it Soul Eater. I think that'd be fine. Mm-hmm. That's like the thematic change. That's why it makes so much sense.
Give it Soul Eater.
Increases its clear, increases survivability, and it makes sense thematically. But
I suppose it might be somewhat abusable with worms and bosses, but otherwise, like for the most part, giving it Soul Eater wouldn't make it OP against a boss.
You could let it power up,
right? It's a bleed build, so it doesn't even benefit from Soul Eater single target, really.
Benefit from Soul Eater.
So it's honestly the perfect fix, and you could quote me on that. But
when it's eaten another one, it powers up, and then it can't eat one that isn't a higher tier than it, and then you could have a little one and a big one, and then you summon another little one, and then they eat each other, and then they power up like
that was like the extra
modes.
slap in the face was its whole mechanic about eating stuff wasn't really worth doing. It wasn't a buff strong enough to merit the effort, unless you could somehow automate it.
Just prevented you from using other minions.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive downside. Like not having enemy because you just lose Fortify and Calling Strike. Like that's huge.
I think they wanted to like really push the idea of the single minion build. You know, and your big deadly shadow.
You and your friend.
I really did like
not there yet,
Bob.
Oh yeah,
Bob the animated guardian. That was a great build.
Yep.
There's it's not. I guess it's not a strictly like just the Animate Guardian build, but the Chains of Command build got a buff with one of the new uniques they revealed. The one that causes kills nearby to be credited to you, because if you give that to your Animate Guardian, then kills are credited to the Guardian, and then it keeps summoning swords.
That's so huge for Arakaali's Fang, though. Like,
yes, that as well.
That is like, to me, that first thing I saw was like, holy shit, Arakaali's Fang is just going to go infinite spiders. Like, that was one of the annoying things kind of about it, but that's definitely cool. I like that. Again, it's like uniques are nice, you know? It's nice to see.
Did that still work when the spiders poison something and they die to that poison? That counts as your kill? Did that still work?
Yeah.
Okay, so
people would use Speaker's Wreath. People would use Speaker's Wreath in order to generate kills before. Because if Speaker's Wreath would only allow your minion hits to kill ignited enemies. So they would never kill them with a hit as long as you never ignited enemies.
Yep.
But it's like, do you want to give up your glove slot or your hat slot now? You kind of have the choice.
There are so many useful unique gloves. Like they put all the really cool stuff in one slot. You only pick one.
For sure. That's kind of like how boots are with rares. The rare slot for boot is one of the most competitive slots in the entire game now. Well, especially with like Maven Awakened shit, it's almost like ascendancies. You can have you can have boots that are just degenerate now. With like multiple like tailwinds on onslaughts, 5 projectile pierces. Like the list for boots is like way stronger than a lot of other slots.
You think they've
So it's
locked
hard.
themselves in with if they want to make another quote unquote headhunter equivalent item, it's going to have to be a belt? They're going to
No.
start specializing unique? Because they
I
can't
know what
bring
you're
out
saying.
you can't
They
bring out
can both exist.
a broken ass chase boot unique because you have to remember
And
all the other
if-
broken ass slot
If the
requirements.
drawback is contradictory to the existing ones.
I just mean, the ones that would have to be contradictory to would be the best in
Headhunter
slot,
Magebane.
yeah,
Yeah.
or the best in slot Amulet or whatever. I don't know. It seems like they just keep making things that are just going to make it more difficult for them in the future.
I mean, that's Path of Exile is reaching max entropy either way. There's just too much stuff in the game. It's kind of like the problem like games like Dota had, where it's just there's too much in the game, and its balance becomes basically impossible to a degree. But I think it's still all. It's the ultimate excuse I give them is just holding our dicks till Path 2, pretty much. Just I assume everything will be kind of rectified then. Hope there will be. Most things will be rectified by then.
Are you a fan of the Labyrinth? Do you want to
The change?
go on? No, I mean just in
I-
general, for PoE 2.
I think Lab's
what's
fine.
your
I just don't think we
solution?
need trials. I don't think we need trials full stop. I think the one trial you do, especially not Uber Lab trials, was that the change was fine. But I think we could probably just not do trials and let since the thing is, since Lab is an infinite attempt location, I think the idea of having trials is kind of pointless because you're going to learn about lab mechanics as you're progressing through it, and you have infinite attempts to do so. So you could really just remove trials and be like, oh look, there's a spike trap. I mean, that's beyond the fact that it's just basic knowledge that a spike trap has spikes come out of it, or a billy club is going to hurt you. You encounter it once in lab, and now you know. If I died or to take damage from it, I learned something. I don't have to do it again. So I can't imagine why the lab trials exist now past just the antiquated
I
tutorial
in
system.
general prefer. I really like it when there's something before the big thing that has a chance to kill me, previews it, just as
but
a
you're
game design thing.
You're in the Endgame by then. You've already done the first 3 labs. You don't need a little baby step.
Yeah, Lab
fire
maybe
is
has
hot.
an argument for not doing that, but
That's the repercussions to dying only applies to hardcore. I think if you're doing that, but then again, you assume that responsibility because you're playing hardcore. So I don't think you get a pass in that.
What's up, Octavian?
I think the reason they exist is to be a source of offerings to the goddess. That is the basic source of offerings to the goddess, because they don't want them to just randomly come from League mechanics and not have a core. This is where they're meant to come from. But you could replace that with, instead of a trial, just a big statue of the goddess spawns in your map with a chest beneath it, and you click the chest and you get an offering, and that just shows up sometimes in your maps.
I think it has to take effort. So it can't just be a click this, get an offering. It has to be a click this, do something difficult, get it.
Maybe it has a price tag, 10C or something. It has a random generated currency.
Is Aro's version of Perandus?
Yeah, pretty
Kadiro
much.
shows up and he only sells offerings.
Or just the spirit of the labyrinth is it occupies the map boss. There's things you could do. Either way, this doesn't change the fact that you could remove it from the axe progression. That wouldn't affect offerings.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way that's on theme with Lab that isn't too much of an interruption to mapping, but is maybe something of a challenge. I like the idea you had of having the goddess possess a map boss. That's kind of neat.
The
But,
dog
we're-
just shows
we're-
up. Fucking big boy Chonka comes in randomly like
Oh,
Shaper.
Argus?
Map boss.
Yeah, Argus just fucking walks in like the great boy and just fucking starts
Wait.
fucking shit
You
up.
could have a fortification-esque thing that has Argus in it, yeah, and then you have to fight Argus to
That'd be
get to
terrifying.
For sure.
I want the goddess to possess the goddess map boss.
tiny
goddess
goddess
is-
on top of big goddess.
Still one of the
would be
rippiest
such a
Maven
fun
encounters. That bitch is crazy in the Maven invitation compared to
Floor dot.
the scaling for
Lasers.
Maven goes crazy. For certain things like piety, miscreation piety, just is so strong. In
Mini beam.
oh yeah,
Oh, God, what's
Starcaller
his name?
from Library, the one that makes the fucking giant vortexes from Shaper, can cover the entire map sometimes to increase the AoE. They get fucky.
The scariest one, the one that I've had... Okay, there's two. That one of them killed me, and one of them had a really close call with. The one that killed me was Tolman, because he blows up boss
The
corpses.
DD, yeah.
And he does it without a DD animation. You know how there's a flashing before the explosion
pop.
with things like Malagaro's corpse explosions and stuff? No, Tolman's just fuck you. You stood on a corpse, die. And it is death. I had 9k effective HP on that build and fortify and shit. gone, doesn't matter.
He's categorically been spooky, though, yeah.
And the other one, I think his name is Woad, Mockery of Man. He's in Defiled Cathedral. It's the big blood sky lasers.
Yeah.
Those things are so huge, and they do such a nasty fizz dot. It's insane.
Who's the one from the other cathedral, the one that does the dot, like unknown stacking dot, that degen one?
The red pillars? Is that what you mean?
No, nothing. Maybe the red pillars. It's like, look at the map name.
Crimson Township?
Yes, Crimson Township. Thank you. That one.
Oh,
he does.
Yeah. I kill him once a week.
Debuff.
Yeah, I still don't know how that boss works.
It just as long as the fight's going on, just this debuff stacks ad nauseum, and then you just die eventually.
I only fight that boss if I have enough damage to like 3 shots.
Or Grave Troth, the spooky guy from Grave Troth has a lot of fucking chaos damage out of nowhere.
I think I keep dying to Residence boss. Which, is it Residence? There's just a lightning trapper guy, and he yeets out lightning traps. And they're invulnerable, and I'm playing like an auto bomber, which is just constantly targeting the traps on the floor instead of the boss, and the fight goes for like 45 minutes.
It'll be even harder, because now all traps have 2 minutes of iframes, pretty much.
Great!
It's a very, 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 very nice change. I mean...
it's great for
that one node was way too impactful.
I wouldn't even say it was impact. It was just required. Like, that's the thing that sucks. What were you saying, Octavian?
If you want to do like an Inquiz Trapper or a Chieftain Trapper or something, it's really nice, yeah.
Yep.
Off-meta, left side of tree trappers, which aren't the most popular thing, for sure, but can work in some instances.
Are they
Fire
fun?
Trap, not Chieftain or something.
I've never played a trapper or a miner.
Never, like at all?
Are they fun?
Yeah, like never. Yeah, they're fun.
Traps
the
are
worst question
very,
ever
very
asked.
good single target in softcore.
Okay.
Like, very
What's the
cheap,
difference?
very good single target. Like, literally, I threw together like a level 82 Saboteur. It had 4k life. It used Calm's Roots. I obliterated Uber Elder with like 20 chaos budget. It just, like, Explosive Trap. 5 million PK.
I was waiting for you to say Explosive Trap. Explosive Trap is
that's
one
the
of the highest single target skills in the game. Has been
And they
for a while.
they buffed it when they didn't need to, and they haven't nerfed it since. And I'm worried that they'll nerf it as soon as I play it.
I think this is probably the last league. They really should have nerfed it this league, but they didn't. So
I mean,
maybe we'll see.
I'll write it down.
The
And then never
ways that
play
it was played before were nerfed by the changes to evasion, I think. But yes, Explosive Trap
now
is
it's
a gem.
supplemental damage for Exsanguinate, essentially, which makes it so you have.
Oh, you mean
guys here
Seismic?
clear with Exsanguinate? Yeah, sorry, Seismic's what I meant. Like you have such insane clear with Deadeye Exsanguinate, and then you just like also just put in this 4-link trap that can like 2-shot bosses.
Seismic is also quite strong. Seismic is fun. I'm considering doing a
Poison?
people were playing Poison Seismic Trap. Poison
I was
Seismic
very confused.
Poison Seismic was one of the more popular or more successful builds in the Gauntlet. It was quite good, actually. It was the highest damage build in the Gauntlet, that's for sure. But it was a little squishier than some of the classes.
Blows my mind.
2 mil damage instead of 1 mil damage.
No, I'm judging by the... I never actually looked at Zai's build, but judging by the DPS he was putting out, it was somewhere like the 4 to 5 million mark.
Yeah.
By how quickly he was getting through Shaper. It was good. He just misstepped in, I think it was formed, and, it's not very
That'll do it.
forgiving.
Yeah, no.
Oh, they should
Yeah, the
really
ramp
run
up in
that form
difficulty from
game.
the invitations is quite harsh, really. Like you have Shaper Gardens, Elder Gardens, which are kind of a joke, like comparatively, and then it just like kicks up a notch really hard with Breach Lords and Synth Maps.
It's almost
Yeah,
like they keep making content harder to like scale with the players being a bit stronger, and then they like make content.
But you
out
wouldn't
of
think
that
so.
content.
Looking at the Echoes drop down, you'd be like, "Oh, look, there's like things are in order. Maybe the order in which they're presented is like the difficulty." But
they're going to bring out like Uber Maven, which uses these Uber versions of the new content and then puts them inside memories, and then do the Uber Maven using the Uber fragments of the previous. That's going to happen.
I think we're
It's
going
going to be...
It's going to be optional. It's going to be extra endgame content now that you've mastered this previous Uber endgame content. Now
I think
There's going to be a memory game where instead of stepping on 3 different parts of the arena, you have to remember what order you need to kill Uber bosses in.
it'll be a
then kill those
3x3
Uber bosses in
grid
that order.
like a Rubik's Cube, and you'll have to leap slam into the correct squares.
You'll have to pause in the middle of the Uber Cyrus fight to beat him in a game of Scrabble.
Oh, fuck yeah, we're going to play
Oh,
Gwent.
no.
If they bring in if they bring in the Exile Con card game into the actual game and you have to beat bosses using the cards, fuck yeah. I'll play the shit out of that. I was crap at it, but I'll do it.
Like Gwent with every NPC wager wisdom fragments or something.
Oh yeah, just like ultimatum, you gotta like wager shit. Like wagering, but you can bring in your own items to wager, like specifically, instead of just like, 5x, and then you have to do your 5x, but like, that's basically what Scourge is, Wager League. Bring more Wager League, I'm okay with it.
Scourge is
The problem with Gwent is that at some point you reach a deck that's unbeatable.
Said the guy who tries to make unbeatable
It
builds.
no longer becomes like a fair chance if either player can win. At some point it's just your deck is so good.
What do you
I've heard
call
more
it?
about Gwent than The Witcher 3, which is just testament
It
to
makes
the
sense.
that
There was a mod immediately after The Witcher 3 came out, which just replaced every combat encounter with a game of Gwent.
And that's all you need.
You could beat the Griffin with Gwent.
It's just become Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Decks, the game. Just shelled
That is-
inside Witcher.
That is an excellent game.
Hey,
What are you going to call it when you scourge items? Are you going to? Scourge just seems like a hard
Crangle.
word to say. You're just going to call it crangling?
Yeah. Everyone's already
One second, I'm
going
going
at
to crangle
crangling.
this. Crangle this. Yeah,
The Crangler. It's not the Blood Crucible, it's the Crangler.
Because Scourge sounds too much like Scour, and you're not doing that.
Scourge is such a... It's
Hard to say.
a very extra syllable.
How many syllables is it? One?
It's one syllable, but it's like,
Scourge.
it's so
that's really-
convoluted. Hey, it's too much effort.
goddamn uppity syllable.
Scourge? Two?
Trying to get us to pronounce so many different consonants and shit.
liberation from the goddamn syllable.
This is like roux. The word roux, not like roux the day, but like the
R-U-G-H,
it's like cooking.
The
RIOUX
combination
roux.
Kangaroo? Sorry, that's my one.
It's like
That
this
one
is
you
too many
can-
letters.
You can blame the
Crackle.
French for that one.
Yeah, the Scourge might have some French root, but I doubt it.
I can look up the etymology of Scourge
Yeah,
if we
let's-
want the
let's do it
podcast to go
right
in that
now.
direction.
Do it, yeah, fuck it.
Etymology
I'm
of
gonna look for a thing while you do.
Scourge.
Oh, there it is.
Latin, Old French,
Hey,
escolier. I butchered that, but
What the fuck? Sorry, I'm breaking shit.
I looked up entomology. No, I get is bugs. I think my computer's broken.
Not entomology.
that's entomology. This is etymology.
You might be thinking of Lord of the Rings as well.
Entomology, I just see a bunch of trees talking.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a bunch of trees non-stop.
it would be very difficult to make up a word that means the study of the language of tree people.
Apparently, the root of Scourge means thoroughly whip.
Nice. What do you back to Scourge? What do you think all the icons mean in the skill things? Since that's something we know practically half about. but we could
Icons and the
totally
skill
guess.
things.
Yeah, icon in the skill tree. Like I've already seen
Like the
people be.
masters?
Yeah, like the Scourge skill tree that you unlock. Like one of them
Oh.
is fusings and
Oh,
one of them
those.
is jewelers. I already
Oh,
saw
well,
someone.
I'll have them all unlocked anyway.
Yeah, I know. There's one that looks slightly like a map.
So we've seen a couple of them. There's one that enables you to scourge a second item, or crangle, pardon, we just went over this. And there's one that enables you to crangle unique items. There's one that enables you to crangle maps. There's one that gives you faster crangle speed with jewelry.
What? Oh. Wait, what? Oh, right.
There's
How
one
much
that allows you
crangle
to
you need.
ignore big ass.
I was like, the animation probably isn't that fast. I don't know why you need, like... Yeah, that's
The
my
speed-
brain, sorry.
A smaller number of kills.
Dude, if there was, like, a speed at which you could fuse something, like a limit, and then you had to unlock, like, skills to make it faster...
Oh,
that's
rebinding
the
your middle
shit
mouse
I would
button.
hate.
Just rebind middle mouse. That's what I do.
Anyway, there's a skill that looks entire... There's a node that definitely looks like the one you get when you want to do maps. It just looks like a map. And I saw a person go, I bet you that's you can crangle fossils. I'm like, I think you're a fucking idiot, because why the fuck would you be able to crangle a currency? Anyway, that's my one derailment. Also, there's one looks like a blessed orb for some reason. I want to bless my item. Like, there's some of these, like, sure. There's the one that adds modifiers to your... My finish your sentences, you dumb fuck. My logic was, why the fuck would I want to add more modifiers to my items? But then I was like, oh wait, Scourging corrupts them, so why would I not want to put something that's... Anyway, yeah. Moral of the story is, why the fuck would I want to bless items if I'm Scourging uniques and they're already good? Wait. Yeah.
If it occupies the same slot in the implicit, you wouldn't want to because it's just a waste of currency, I guess is what you're saying?
I just mean,
If it
like...
occupies an additional spot, then it's different, but if it's occupying the same space, there's no point to touch it.
Okay, I have one more question that's unrelated, but it's still Scourge. They said you can Scourge maps up to 10 times, right? And there's a chance when you Scourge a map to keep the previous Scourge and add a new modifier, right?
Yep.
Does that mean once you've got two sets of Scourge on a map, which will be like 4 mods, the next time you Scourge it, it's either you'll keep what you've got, or you'll roll over your 4 mods with then 2 mods because you'll hit it down, if that makes sense?
I guess you'll go from... If it's a
50-50 chance to get rid of everything that you've already done, I feel like it becomes mathematically prohibitive to go above like 6 mods.
Yeah, like the way it was worded was you have a chance of adding mods or you have a chance of scourging it for 2 mods. So does that mean you could get 6 mods and then you'll hit one that's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're back to 2?
I think so. Yeah.
God, it's like going to be a kick in the nuts.
So my advice is never go above 6.
And I mean, it's going to be really difficult to do ones with more mods than that anyways. Like looking over some of the ones that you get, it's like players have minus 60 to phys mitigation while in Nightmare. You know, monsters in Nightmare deal 120% more damage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if it's a 50-50 chance to brick it when you crangle it, so getting 10 crangles in a row and always adding more mods, that would be 0.5 to the 10th power, which is a
1 million. 10 million.
0.1% chance. So
10 million?
It's not like mirror rare to get a 10 mod map, but it definitely shouldn't be attempted. Unless you're...
I assume it's a 50-50 chance to lose a mod or gain a mod. I think that's just what it's going to be. Like, once you initially crangle it, going forward, you either gain a crangled mod or you lose a crangled mod. Like, that's probably going to be it. Because I assume they want it to be accessible to have a mod that has effectively 8 affixes and 8 crangled implicits. That's like
I want the map to not be able to be read on the screen because it overflows off the screen. That
was Expedition. I mean, that happened many times in Expedition.
All cold snap.
I don't even think you need to push that far to get to that point. Because, yeah, you can have an 8 mod map that has, like, a bunch of Delirium orbs on it, and those are each individually listed, and then, 8 crangled mods, or whatever.
And then it also says corrupted at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And then also at the bottom it says scourged level 10.
Hey, you know how, like, in Windows, if you grab a window and you shake it left and right, it minimizes everything to the desktop?
Sure.
Yeah, I just broke everything. Anyway, we're now a JPEG instead of a video. How's it going?
What were we talking about? They redirected all the crafting recipes.
That is true.
Onto base maps now, which is nice. So no more incursion, delve,
all of them?
for getting crafting. Yeah, like all the ones that were behind incursion, delve. It's like the fusing, jeweler socket stuff.
I'm a fan of that because I never did the content and I needed those recipes.
I mean, the principle, I guess, behind it because like Pale Court no longer has recipe. I mean, that we know they're removing prophecy in some way, shape, or form, but I assume we're going to retain their uniques in another way, shape, or form. But I hope that they don't like start trimming stuff off of incursion or delve. I don't think they would because they just buffed redid delve partially. But I get a little bit spooky when they start touching stuff. I don't want to lose my stuff that I've been doing for a while. You know, it's like
this is an end to. There's usually on Reddit like, hey, I found the 6-link recipe. I'm going to sit here and hold the instance open for 4 hours, and everyone on Reddit can go grab it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Won't need to do that anymore.
Hope that's the case. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like I'm definitely aligned with. I'd like them to kind of like cut the chaff when it comes to the leagues, but I also like tightrope to walk to retain the like memory of their existence. Like we just lost Brandis in its entirety. It feels like the only thing we retained is the uniques themselves, but you wouldn't really know they're from Brandis unless you played during Brandis. So I wonder if there's any way we're gonna like have going forward some references of Brandis outside of it. Like the mechanic really exist anymore, I guess, going forward.
Yanis exists. He's got the last name Parandus.
Is that it, though?
Yeah, what does he do now? Because he can't spawn Kadiro.
Bank of Parandus exists, the unique chest.
Does it say in the patch notes? Giannis.
Ivory Temple map?
You just get
It's not in
the
the
area,
patch
and
notes.
it's just an empty cage with a bit of
I would
powder.
actually did Ivory Temple rotate out with the maps? 'Cause if that was rotated out, that means it's just like all Parandus has been...
The Ivory Temple map boss has been replaced.
See? Oh my god, it's the beginning of the end.
It's so
My man
weird that
Kadiro.
they specifically designed like certain maps or certain div cards to drop from like certain areas because of very specific lore and divination card reasons, and it's like those maps are gone. Okay, we'll just yeet this into here, yeet this into here. At least they told everyone where it was all going because they don't typically do that for like
A little
divination card
strange.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I had a div card that was locked behind a specific map that I've made, and I don't know if... I didn't even check if that map's even around anymore. It was Colonnade, but like...
What's the div card?
Merciless Armaments. It's a piece of shit now, but at the time it was great.
I don't even think it's mentioned.
I don't think so.
They just deleted it.
I drew it, I wrote the flavor text, it was all from scratch.
Nice.
It's gone now.
It says many div
Yeah,
cards.
Merciless
You got put
two-hand
into
weapon,
the
eye level 100.
many section. Was that? Oh. Yeah, that's fair. Hey man, you said 3 hours and it's literally like a minute left. You're pretty good timing on that. You can just say it. Like you don't have to DM it. This is a shit show. You should just be relaxed here. You don't have to.
I don't know. I'm trying to be
Polite.
professional.
Yeah,
man.
trying not
Professional
to
polite.
impact
Fuck
the
professionalism. Say whatever you want. Who cares? The whole point of it not being streamed is I can edit it out. So just be your usual racist self, and it's fine.
Okay, excuse me. I have a few problems here.
The goddamn Karui. All their tattoos.
Bloody Kadooka.
I do have to actually go soon, though.
That's legit. That's fine.
Fair enough, Drew.
But it has been great being on the podcast. I really appreciate being invited, guys.
Yeah, sorry last time for inviting you with like 30 minutes to spare, like 3 months
That's
ago.
okay.
I just thought it would be
Oh,
fun.
yeah. At the beginning of the podcast, Jim is like, I'm doing this because no one ever invites me to their podcast. No one invites me to their podcast either.
That's why these two fuckers, they just like don't know how to say no, to me at least. Lighty and Jousis. I'm sorry, Jousis, as well. I know you typically accept this only so you can work on your build in Path of Building, and Path of Building isn't updated, so what the fuck have you even been doing?
I totally would have done it if the tree data was available. I would have been on Path of Building the whole time.
Instead, he's stealing cakes.
Anyway, assuming you want to, assuming it's okay for Octavian, assuming Octavian wants to end the podcast now.
Yeah, I hate you.
I'm okay to end it as long as you want to. As long as
I would like to end this and never have it happen ever again.
3 months from now, you'll be crawling back. I'm just kidding. You're so there's so many podcasts. Like there's more podcasts than there are community makers at this point. Like content creators.
Up there. There's like
that's
sub 10, I think, to be honest.
There's like
area.
30. There has to be. There's tons.
Maybe.
I've
one last
seen
week,
like
one next
5 or
week.
6 on the front page.
Yeah.
I don't advertise this, so whoever finds it, I'm sorry.
You're apologizing for making the podcast?
And now that you've
It's
gotten to the,
going.
now that they've gotten to the 3 hour mark, this podcast is also available anywhere else you can find it. So thank you, and share it with your friends if you want. I don't give a shit. Shout yourself out, Octavian. I don't think you need to because, like, you're the most famous one here. Except Jousis, maybe. I don't know. Do it, though.
I feel like Octavian gets more viewers than me. I don't stream very often.
Do your plugs. You want to.
I don't know. I am on twitch.tv/Octavian0. That is a 0, not an O. You can find me there.
And Octavian isn't spelled weird.
I
No,
had it on
it's-
screen for a bit.
It's spelled the
The
normal way.
classical spelling.
The
Jimmy,
classical
another
spelling of the classical word Octavian?
You didn't ask where his name came from, you know?
Where'd your name come from?
That's the question everyone always asks for everything.
Where'd you
There was a book that I read as a kid whose main character was named Octavian Nothing, hence Octavian 0.
See?
I liked
That's
We're
a
all
much
better
more
off now.
interesting story than mine.
I feel like
That's
yours
such
is still
a
better
shit-
than mine.
Yeah, better than mine. Good job. 10 out of 10. Hey, why'd you start streaming? This is supposed to be ending. Why'd you start streaming, Octavian? How'd you get into this gig?
I've always really liked video games, and when I was like 18 or 19, I forget exactly, I'm horrible at remembering time frames, I got Lyme's disease, and it wrecked my knees, and I couldn't walk for more than a year. So this is what I started doing. Not specifically streaming Path of Exile. At the time, it was League of Legends, but I got into commentating gaming and streaming gaming as a result of not being able to do a lot else.
You still have no knees, right?
Yep, they're gone. They had to.
We can't see below his torso.
They
had to shoot them into space for the safety of the country.
Fucking ticks, man.
Lighty's going to ask every person from this point on if they've got knees, and eventually we're going to hit someone that actually doesn't, and it's going to be really awkward.
There are some people who don't, yes.
Does it make you cringe if I tell you that I got bit by like 120 ticks a couple months ago?
Well, where you're from, I don't think they carry limes.
Yeah, what?
I love weird
my brain pictured literal limes. I'm sorry. Lyme's disease. I got it.
They also don't carry the fruit.
That makes sense as well.
That would be terrifying.
I would hope so.
Ticks big enough to carry literal limes.
Yeah, fucking huge.
I must go and...
Great having you, Octavian. Thanks for being on, bud.
Take care of house things.
Cold pizza's great. Bye.
Yeah, love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
You.
Now what?
Damn.
I'll talk shit about him.
Yeah, fuck that guy. How dare he leave?
He's got eyes, pussy.
How dare he have 2 working knees, unlike the rest of us?
Yeah.
I'm sitting on 1.5.
Weak immune system, can't fight off
the average person has an above average number of knees.
It's true.
That is pretty sad. What? I get it,
the average
but no.
person
That doesn't mean no.
has an above average
You can't
number of
say
knees.
that because they're not the average person. Then you dick. The majority has the above average number of knees.
Okay, but if you take
fuck you.
If you assign a number to every single person, that is the number of needs that they have, and then divide that by 7 billion.
Getting dangerously close to the Holocaust.
What? Okay, I was wondering at what point I should cut this off in the edit. I've just figured it out. Thank you, Lighty.
Yep.
So much.
There I go. I am excellent at ending conversations.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Numbering people. Oh boy.
Oh, I get it. That makes more sense.
Did you not get it when he says assigning people numbers?
No, I didn't. I didn't get
God.
the Holocaust joke. Thank you for explaining it.
Let me guess, Jim, you were just following orders?
This is like, how is
I'd like to say that I didn't get my own joke that Lighty inferred, so...
How is it that you and I even got to this point, Lighty? We're doing good things. We're doing charity, and you're like, Holocaust joke. Okay, no, yeah,
but also,
great.
like,
there's
you've been
never a
banned,
more
which I
appropriate
haven't,
time.
So, I don't know.
Make a Holocaust
I have
joke.
not been banned. Yet. Maybe. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna end. I suppose we'd call it here.
Send him a smiley face.
Rude impression? What?
He's like, guys, I gotta go. I don't want to be rude.
I'm so glad
He's
he
just trying his best to be polite.
His schedule was like all over the place, and I'm like, why? And he's like, oh, I think I have 2 baited. No, what's Taki's circle jerk called? Two Bayclasts in a row that he's recording for some reason tomorrow and the day after.
Why?
I don't know. Special guests, privilege.
Ironically, this is the only... After you crangled our schedule, this is the only day I can really do this also.
Oh, hell yeah. Sorry about that.
One day after that.
It was all over the place, but yeah.
Yep.
Availability, 1 week left. Everyone's just trying to burn time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I won't hold just assuming you have other things to do. I'm just going to go walk aimlessly around the yard. See you later. Oh, actually, fuck. I'm going to have to actually edit this. Hey, do you want to plug yourself? Or do you not care?
I'm good.
Okay, how about you, Jousis? I'll link you anyway. You know, the usual. You know, for the fucking 20% of 2,000 that get to this point.
Odds are when you're watching this, I'm not streaming, so...
Yeah.
That's fair.
And I'll almost guarantee to be streaming.
Yes. That's why...
Yep, so go to Lighty, not me. Boom.
Nice.
I streamed 70 hours last week.
Damn.
That was too much.
I'm going to do math on how many
hours.
I was doing 9-hour pass streams and 5-hour RuneScape streams at night. Too much.
At least you're enjoying it?
Yeah, I've just been sleeping 2 hours a night, though.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like my
4 hours
my
sleep
digits are
last night.
fading.
How old are you?
At some point, you fingy.
Me?
Yeah.
Like corporeally or like spiritually?
Both.
Physically, I'm 30.
Oh, that's not bad. Mentally?
Emotionally, though? Oh, mentally.
Oh, right.
Spiritually,
Yeah, there's like 4 different ones, isn't there? Mentally,
like that old guy in fucking Squid Game. That's me, pretty much.
Mental? Spiritually? How old do you feel?
Oh, like easy 60, 70, yeah.
I don't think I'll ever get a serious answer out of you, but okay.
I made soup twice this week. That's like an old person thing.
That is true.
Nothing wrong with soup.
Yeah, it was big batch of soup. Made more soup today.
Make a
also.
whole bunch at once.
Is that why you asked if I made soup?
I didn't remember asking that, to be honest.
Oh, it was slop. Slop on the mind.
Yeah, that's in the chat. You can
Soup and
scroll up.
slop.
You still eating slop? Define
slop,
slop. Blended chicken tendies. Half slop. What does that mean? It's half blended chicken tendies and half something else?
Chicken pie. I didn't eat it technically. I gotta go reheat
like a chicken pot pie?
Yeah. It's cheesy chicken, whatever that means.
What?
It's got
This isn't homemade? This is like pre-bought?
it's got liquid cheese in it, and I had one already, and it scalded the top
That is
of my
not
mouth.
what I was hoping you... such disappointment when I just witnessed.
It's basically a hot
That's
pocket.
a hot pocket, bro. That's a fucking hot pocket.
It's a traveler's pie. It's just a brick of meat in a pastry.
No, that is a Philly cheesesteak hot pocket from a gas station.
No complaints. I'll still eat it.
Enjoy your,
At least
your
it's
cardboard.
bigger than a hot pocket.
I will probably yeet it into the...
Did you want more hot pocket? I mean...
I'll yeet it into the garden and have some curry.
If the only thing you eat is a single hot pocket, that's not enough food. Not only are you eating not good food, but you're not
What?
eating enough. of the not
As you know,
Nothing.
if you eat one hot pocket, half your mouth has already been scalded, so it's irrelevant.
It's impossible.
Because half a hot
You
pocket
eat a
is
hot pocket with
1,000
curry.
degrees Kelvin, and the other half is Arctic frozen.
I just don't eat much because I'm skinny, and I'm skinny because I don't eat much.
It's like reverse fat bastard.
It's like reverse you. No offense.
Damn.
Literally gonna go grab a rope.
How is it okay for people to go, oh, you skinny... Actually, I brought... What the fuck was... How... People
just
constantly
shit,
just think it's okay to call you super skinny, but at the same time, they think it's bad to call people fat. You know?
Yeah, because you're a big meanie. See? What are you
My
gonna do
rib...
now?
Oh, I'm sorry, my rib is showing.
Your rib is showing.
Yeah, my rib. Sorry, my one rib.
Yeah.
Fucking end it. I'm out of here. Bye.
I'm gonna go
Bye.
to dinner. Be back later.
Fine.
I'm
See
not.
ya.
I'm gonna goodbye.
Be back later. See you in 3 months. See ya.
See you once.
You know, I was going to edit out that Holocaust joke, but fuck it. You know, less editing, although this is still editing, adding in an ending and a beginning and buffing the audio. Did you like the audio? The audio was definitely louder for me. I assume people can just turn it down and it sounds good. Man, I hope I remember to do that again in 3 months, assuming I do another one of these in 3 months. Four episodes a year? That's pretty good. Maybe 5, depending on when leagues roll around. I might do a 4.5 episode in a couple months, like halfway through the next league. So keep an eye out for that. I guess if you're watching this like while the league's going, like at league start, why aren't you just watching a stream or something? But if you're watching it before the league came out, if you're gonna like if you're gonna link to anything in the comments and be like replying back to something that we said at the 2-hour 37-minute mark, can you fucking timestamp it? Because I have no idea what the fuck I said, let alone what someone else said, let alone like there's no conversation here without context. Thanks for watching. Check out everyone else's links and stuff in the description. I'll see you in the next one.